Welcome to the Gangcast, aka the Games and Not Games podcast. I'm Jan Garcia, and joining me, as always, is Isaiah Smith.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. I'm very tired. I don't know about you, but
I'm a little cozy-wozy.
If after we finished recording, we took a nap, that'd be great. We're not gonna, because we have plans to go out and be productive and, make moves. But man, a nap would be sweet right now.
I guess I am excited because I like to nap, but I'm not ready. Like, I'm almost not ready for your nap era because it's been so, you've never been here with me.
No.
And I'm excited to have you here, but I'm also I hope you know, how to learn how to manage, a nap lifestyle now that you're in freelance.
It is a little rough. It's a little different. I'm not used to it, but it's also not so different. I had a pretty good work-life balance, even at, my 9 to 5 and stuff like that. And so there was never a full steam ahead kind of mode that I would get in. There would be modes where I'd, work for sure, longer hours or some days or nights where it's let me just really, I just want to finish this, get this project over with. I'm going to stay up a little bit later, do whatever. But it was never an extended period of time where I did that. So I don't know, man, this freelance life it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yay.
But it's also not as, I guess, different as I thought it was going to be. So maybe that's why it's not as bad as I thought. It's fairly, it's different enough from what I'm used to, but not so crazy.
My favorite thing was when yesterday we were streaming together on my channel on Twitch, and you were it's it's the weekend. And I was what are you talking about? And then I have freelance friends where I was hey, do you hear this guy? The weekend?
Yeah.
It's just Monday in a different font. What do you mean?
A weekend doesn't exist.
But the weekday
crazy.
feels also kind of like a weekend compared to some other people where it's we kind of just are.
Yeah.
Before,
I feel you work to get to Friday and then you have your weekend. Now it's I just work until my next day. You know what I mean? The next day off or the next light day. The day of the week doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
anymore.
The weekend for me is more of just knowing that I'm uninterrupted by colleagues in the industry, because societally everyone's kind of off on the weekend, so it's okay, now's the time to
yeah, I can see that.
take your foot off the gas of emails and other things, but maybe put your foot on the gas for work that you'd like to do uninterrupted from meetings or content, even though we do this on the weekends, so this is my only content piece on the weekends. So
I actually forget that the weekend is coming up until it's oh no, we record tomorrow. That to me is the signifier.
Would you ever want to record before the weekend? I kind of like having this day.
Yeah.
I worry that if we try to put it on a weekday, it would just make the weekday really bad. Well, I don't feel this makes Saturday bad. It's just a thing to... Yeah. Bad as in loaded. Not bad as in the content of the show. But it'll just be oh my God, let's flip the set.
You ruined the day because we recorded the podcast. Now I know how you really feel. All right.
That is...
Only took 9 episodes.
That is untrue.
Get to the truth.
This is an incorrect statement.
Also, we're on episode 9.
Yeah.
We're
the
almost
nasty
at
9,
It's so nasty.
So nasty. Yeah, we recently... not introduced you to Romeo Santos, but reminded you of the Romeo Santos tag, which is if people, you either absolutely know who Romeo Santos is or you've never heard of Romeo Santos. But yeah, he's just a musical artist, and his little almost like a producer tag, but not really because he's the singer. But he'll go so nasty,
so nasty,
and it's kind of gross. But I don't know. And that's why I say that all the time. And everyone here says that all the time. It's a thing in our apartment. So nasty. Okay, so do you want to get into games?
Let's talk games.
All right. Well, we are no longer on the train.
No.
We are now at PAX. In your mind's eye, listener, we are on the PAX show floor, and we're here to tell you about games. So we're going to go over our top... Well, do you want to call it a top 10? I guess it is our top 10, right? Top 10 that we want to share with y'all.
Yeah. It's not necessarily the top, the best 10, but it's our... pick 10.
Yeah, it's close to the best 10, but not full, because I think we did want to pick a bit of a range in terms of style, but these are all games that we enjoyed to varying degrees and want to talk about, and then we'll do a couple honorable mentions, and that'll be our game segment. So do you want to just go down the list on the order we have? All right, starting off strong as all hell, I am so excited to talk to you about this game.
Yeah.
Woodo.
Woodo's good. Widow is good, guys.
Widow is so good. And when I feel like I did see this at some point, like at a showcase or something, where at first I thought it was called Wudo, I think is what I was saying. It's Widow. It's spelled wood. Oh, like that is the exact spelling. And I had seen it before, I think. I'm like, okay, cozy looking game, cute looking game, very eye-catching wooden art style, like handmade wooden figurines is kind of the look of it. Played it, loved it. Saw Jenna Stieber, my old colleague from MinMax, on the floor, asked her about what she was playing, and she was like, have you played Widow? It's so good. I was like, oh my God, yes. So a couple people on the streets were also talking about Widow, and then near the end of the show, like you and I reconvened on the floor to like play some more games, and I'm like, you gotta play Widow. I want to see what you think about it. And then you played it and liked it. So as the most recent player of Widow, what is Widow and how'd you like it?
Yeah, so Widow is it fair? I guess you call it a diorama game, where it's almost like you're looking into like a little wooden dollhouse with like objects that kind of like fill the room, and off to the side is a like kind of panel of the objects that are in the room. So by at the beginning of a level, everything in the room is kind of like uncolored and just kind of like almost like wooden textured. And the items in the panel that you can click and drag into the room and place them where they are in the room are like colored versions of the same object. So you're taking colored version of items and dragging them into the room and placing them where the uncolored sort of versions are. And maybe
you're kind of like bringing the room to life in a sense, where it's the room is sort of like outlines. It'd be like if you outlined a model and then you like place the model within that. It's almost like in that way, like thinking of a traditional puzzle, like a puzzle you get in a box. It's like a 3D puzzle.
Yes, where you have like the silhouette of where things
if there was a silhouette, though, I guess that's the difference. Because usually when you do a physical puzzle, it's like you have the picture and then you're taking the pieces. This is like, what if the picture was kind of drawn for you already and you're just placing the shapes in there?
But that's not to say, like, just to paint a picture for the listeners, the viewers, I'll probably throw like a trailer or something up here so you get a better idea of it. But like for listeners, it's not that it's this is like a 3D game. Like you are looking into a room that has like cast shadows and like it looks really gorgeous. Like, you know, the 3D models are like, you know, fairly high poly and like it looks good. And you're just kind of like adding, like you said, life or color into the scene more than like additional objects.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's really cool. It's really calming, really relaxing. I love their, and you made a note of this too, their like sort of press start screen. Like the main menu has you dragging the word Wudo, like, or the letters WOODO into like the logo for the game. Yeah. And that's like what prompts you, like it teaches you the mechanics of the game, the act of like dragging the items, as well as like then presents you with like the press start screen kind of thing. Really, really good. Really fun, really calming. I actually don't know if I put the headphones on, so I don't know what the like music or audio sensation is like with the game. If it's,
I forget the music that much. I do think it's like a calming little tune, but the sound design's pretty nice because it has that nice like almost like tactile sound to placing the objects of like the wood interacting with the other wooden pieces. And one of the things that makes this game, I would say, unique in terms of like the style, because I think a lot of games like have this kind of angle to them of like, oh, you're placing objects and then you kind of like bring them to life or something. But this one, what's really cool about it, which also helps make it easier and more like chill without being like completely mindless, is when you rotate the room, the pieces also rotate in that column that you're referring to. So if you're looking at like a coffee mug on a table and you rotate the room so that you can see the coffee mug's handle, when you look in the side carousel of the objects, you're also then now seeing that coffee mug with the handle. So it makes it really easy to place items. Another thing that makes it also very easy to place items is when you drag the colored items in from the like side carousel into the environment, they are to scale in size. So if you're zoomed out in like a room, like the room we played was like just the kitchen level of like, I think your grandma's house or something. And so let's say you had like an apple and there's like, maybe there's fake apples, real apples, maybe the fake apple's really big. If the piece you selected is like the fake big apple, it's going to come in super large because it's to scale of the big apple you're looking for, versus like there was one piece you had that was really, really tiny. It was like a tiny fake leaf, and you like brought that into the space, and it was like the smallest object that I've ever seen. It was like super tiny. You can also zoom in on some sections.
Or even go inside some sections, which is really cool.
And I really like that aspect. Like when you open up the cabinets and then you go into like to place like the plates or the spoons in the drawer. And then another thing I thought was really cool about it was that there's also objects that almost get like their own breakout gameplay scene. So by that I mean you'll have like on the table there's like a cupcake. And when you click on that cupcake, they bring you into like a different scene where it's like a blank background and just the cupcake. And all the items in the carousel are just items for that cupcake, like the base of the cupcake, the frosting, the sprinkles. They also have a strategic use of some items. You'll place it, like the sprinkles, for instance. You put one sprinkle in, and it populates the rest of the sprinkles. Yeah. That's not for every object, but like...
It's like all the duplicate objects.
But not all the duplicate objects. But a lot of them.
If they like...
I guess like per side. Like if there's like a left side, it's like all the left ones. The right side. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And added like... I don't know, another like layer of fun to it. It kind of made those objects like special. And then once you place things too, when you run the mouse over, sometimes they're like move around. Like
it's like fun little animations.
The milk will fill into the bowl and stuff
or
like
a
that.
Tea kettle will like spew steam or something. Yeah. It's really cool.
How'd you feel about like the level of intrigue? Because the thing I was worried about with you playing this game, like I really loved this game, but I was wondering if you would think it was too chill and like kind of almost like boring, because it's like, well, just put like, there's a sock and then I put the sock in the sock slot. Like, I don't feel that way, but I was curious, especially you as a higher level like puzzle player, like what your vibe was for that.
I would liken it very similarly to A Little to the Left, where like, and I get A Little to the Left, I guess inherently has maybe a little bit more
friction,
puzzle-ness to it, because there are sometimes there are like multiple solutions to levels in A Little to the Left. Whereas with Widow, it seems like, like once you fill the diorama, like once you place all the items, that's it. There might not be like additional ways to place the items. Maybe there is, right? I don't know what full mechanics are in the final game, but in that same vein, like when I'm playing A Little to the Left, I'm relaxing. I'm having a good time. I'm taking my time. It's like, it's not stressful at all or anything like that. It like kind of gives me the opportunity to just kind of like slow things down and then like kind of like just chip away at the level itself. It's just like, okay, cool. Like I'm just here playing this game, having a good time. And there's a story element to Widow as well. Now, granted, again, it was just a demo. We don't know like how deep the story goes and everything like that. But like it kind of like as you're placing items into the world, when you complete an item, there's like a little a nugget of story that you get, which I thought was cool, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And
I like that the story felt like it had a good amount of restraint to it, where like the scene that we did was the kitchen scene of, I think it was your grandma, where they were like, and it's narrated also, because I don't remember if you wore the headphones, but someone reads that text to you. Cool. You don't have to read it. And it'll be something like, I don't know, it was like, I remember that summer at my grandma's house, and the kitchen was always bustling with lots of treats and foods or something like that. Yeah. And then you'll like place some items, and then like after a certain point, when you get to like maybe like the table, it's like, oh, I remember my grandma's French toast, how she buttered that toast. It was written a little better than that, but that was basically the vibes. Like where it seems like it's going to be a game about, maybe like childhood or like memories and like the ways we associate like place with memory, like that kind of vibe. But I like that it was a little bit of story, but not like overbearingly chatty. It's not like every time I put a fork and he's like, oh, let me tell you about this fork. It wasn't that extreme. So depending on how fast you play a level, like you may have like a few minutes of a gap between, depending on how slowly it takes you to place the items, because it wasn't for like every single item. But yeah, I thought it was like cute. I'm seeing if I had any other like notes besides stuff we talked about, but it was also funny like having you play it after I played it, where I fell into that role of like the fake PR person for the game, where I was like, a lot of players struggle with placing this part of the thing. I think that's basically placing items. One thing I want to mention that I wrote in my notes is that in terms of ease of game. Like I do think it was intriguing enough to keep your attention. But another thing I liked about the ease, as someone that sometimes struggles with puzzle games, is that as I love when you can do things in like different orders in puzzle games. Like it really helps me because like the thing that I get really stuck on is I feel like a lot of puzzle games have the approach of like you have to do this like very linear, question, answer. And not being able to skip around builds frustration for me. It'd be like if you imagine you had a test at school and it's like you don't know the answer to number 3 and you literally are not allowed to look at number 4, 5, or 6. And I'm like, okay, well, like let's just throw the whole test in the garbage because, and I feel like, granted, this is not a hardcore puzzle game, but I love that you can, if I'm looking at like, I don't know, an apple and I'm like, I don't know where this apple goes. There's like 8 million apples here. You know what? I'm going to place some other objects. And inherently by placing other objects, it becomes easier to find maybe that object that you might have been stuck on. And I really like that aspect of it. I think it helps make it fun. And if you're someone that maybe wants like, I want more of a challenge, you could be like, I'm going to place the objects in order. And like, you can enjoy the work of finding a place. But if you're like, I just like the soothingness of progressing, like I think the progression flow is very simple for that reason. Yeah. Similar to like a jigsaw puzzle. As you fill in puzzle pieces, still working on that Mario puzzle.
Inherently less slots for the pieces to go into, so it does make it a little bit easier. Without like kind of like you said, blocking you from making progression. I think it's really cool. Super solid. Yeah, and it was like pre-alpha, was it? Yeah, I think it said something maybe not like that. Pre-alpha. Pre-alpha might be like it doesn't exist. That might not be the right term, but it was definitely an alpha. It said like very early in production. Yeah. So we'll see. I looked at the Steam page and it just says like release date to be announced. But like I can't wait. This is like very, at the top of my list is a little dramatic, but like I loved this game. Like I thought this was so good. So yeah, shout out to Widow. Up next we got Beastie Ball. Beastie Ball. This is from the homies that made Chicory, a game that I adore. I think that game is so good. Did you beat Chicory? I did. Yeah. What was your like? I liked it. You liked it? Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, you liked it. That's good enough for me, honestly. Yeah. Because it's like, I loved Chicory though. Like Chicory was like, I would say it was my Celeste, but I also liked Celeste a lot. So it's like, it's not really. Celeste is amazing. Yeah, like I love Chicory. But anyway, this isn't Chicory, this is Beastie Ball. It was from the same team. And like, this team has made a bunch of other games. They made Wander Song and maybe a few other titles. And I'll pull up their stuff later just to fill out that gap. So they've been like, dropping some pretty good games, at least holistically. And I'm excited because it's like, I really love their last game because their last game was Chicory. So I'm like, what are you making next? And they're like, yeah, it's not Chicory, it's Beastie Ball. So Beastie Ball, totally different type of game. This is a Pokemon-like volleyball game. Yeah. That's like the long and short of it. Yes. Now, this game has been fascinating for me because I first played this, I think, at a demo at SGF 2 years ago. And it first got revealed like a little bit before then. And again, I'm like, okay, cool. I love your team. Let's go. What are you making? I'm down. And then I played it and I was like, I don't know what this is. And I feel kind of dumb. And that was my feeling the first time I played it. So when I sat to play it at PAX, I was like, okay, maybe today's the day I can figure out what this game is. Because like I couldn't even tell you if the game was good or not. Because I'm like, I literally don't even know what I'm looking at, what's going on. I don't understand. And it's funny because I sat with like Greg Lobanoff because like I was the first appointment. So he's like, oh, you can just check out the game. We can chit chat. Very fun appointment. Very cool. I got to ask a lot of questions. And because I had spoken to him before as well, and again, I'm a friend of the world, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be very candid with you. I remember playing this. I do not understand how to play your game. I'm really hoping to get a better understanding. And I do think I generally got a little bit of a better understanding, but the game has so many systems. To this moment, I cannot with confidence tell you like, oh, this is like fire. I think the ideas are really cool, and I'm very in on like seeing that full build, and I feel like I understand it a bit more. But I'm like, was it good? I don't know yet because I saw it happening, and I'm like, this seems interesting, but I still couldn't fully wrap my head around it. But I did get a better sense of it, and we can get into the details. But before we do that, this is your first time playing it? Yeah. And you went in without me, without the the cloud of me being there. Well, the extra special attention. No, I liked what I played. Like you said, it's a volleyball meets Pokemon kind of game where you have these like little creatures. They battle in games of volleyball, where like you serve, you maybe change position, you move forward or back or left or right or whatever, on like a little quadrant, and you're sending the ball back and forth. I think this game, I like this game. Let me start by saying that I like the game. I like what I played. Seems fun. I'm interested. However, I think the thing that it suffers from is like trying to use verbiage that is closer to the like volleyball context as opposed to the game context. And so it's hard to know what each thing does.
They're like, and now you volley, which I'm sure a lot of people know what a volley is, but I'm like,
yes, but like, what does that mean?
Now I hit it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, a volley in volleyball can only mean one thing. But this is not volleyball. This is a fighting, like effectively a fighting game. And so it's like, well, does volley mean I'm giving the ball to my teammate? Is it like a pass? Is it a power up? Like what is volley contextually in the game of Beastie Ball? And they don't do a great job of explaining that.
Yeah.
But it's also very easy to just try it, and then you start to internalize their verbiage, their like lingo to the systems that you are familiar with. And so like, oh, cool, like volley is to pass or to like queue up your teammates attack basically. And it's like, okay, cool, like you almost have to like redefine these words, and I found myself having to like redefine these words in a context that I could understand in relation to the Pokemon game within this.
Yeah. It was like playing it. I kind of felt like I'm just gonna hit like A.
Yep.
A. I would move up. Yeah.
I had no idea why or when I should.
I know there's like a degree of like making sure that you're at the spot that like they were gonna hit the ball, but like I just couldn't really.
But I don't think there's an indicator for where they're gonna hit the ball.
I think there is, but that I couldn't really tell it. I don't know. Like I had a better understanding of overall what was going on, but not necessarily like. And now I'm ready to play Beastie Ball. Like I have no Beastie Ball tips for you. I have no like, and this is something that like Greg and the team is very aware of, that like it is such that they have been, I don't want to say they've been struggling to demo it because that's kind of putting words in their mouth, but they acknowledge that like we have a hard time demoing this game because there are a lot of systems. So to really see like what makes the game mechanically really cool, it's like you can't really see it, which is tough for a demo. That's the job. But yeah, like I think the style is very cool in this game. Like I think the animations that they have for like the UI and the look of it is very, it's kind of almost like cartoony, but with a bit of an edge. This is a little bit too high of a compliment, but it does remind me of like the style of Persona, like the way they emphasize like stylish UI. Again, it's not like, it doesn't look that good. I get everyone those, that's the bar of UI. So I don't want to go too complimentary, but I did think it had a lot of style that like in that way. And I like that I asked a lot about like the beasties, which are like the Pokemon like in this world and like their interactions. And like one thing that was interesting is that over time, like as they like things can happen between these like little creatures, like they can become friends, they can fall in love and date, they can even become rivals, and that'll like change how they like play in the battles, like or how they like battle or how they play. I don't know what language they use for the game. And I thought that was really cool. Like, and those animations are also very cute. And then there's like a layer of like sponsorships you can get. So it is a very like sporty leaning. And I think the thing that from having conversations with like the team about like what are the systems that's going on, what makes it like not Pokemon is that they don't do types, which also I think makes it harder to understand. Like as someone who's like, I know Pokemon, let me play Beastie Ball. And then you're like, what's happening? What's going on? Is that there aren't types. There's just like 3 main stats, like body, mind, and spirit. And there's like, they play differently based on that slightly, but it's not like you're going to like put out a certain necessarily like a type versus another type.
Yeah.
But because of that, allegedly, it's also like easier to like, you can come in under leveled for something and be able to win in a way that might not be as possible in Pokemon. Cause like at the end of the day, if you don't have like the right type matchup, it's like, you're kind of done. But then the opposite's also true, obviously. Like you can always like level up and just kind of plow through everything. And that, okay, what's the name of this anime that I was like, oh, did you guys like love volleyball and you made this game? And they said, no, they said they watched a lot of, what is it? Haikyuu. Okay, I sound like I'm 900 years old. Haikyuu, the anime. So if that much like the Romeo Santos reference, that means something to some of you, and nothing to others. So yeah, it's a bit that inspired. You know, I'm like looking through my notes. I have like a million other notes on this vibe, but it did seem cool, and I left more excited than when I entered, which is like generally a good sign. But ultimately, like this one was a tough one because it's like, oh, it looks cool, and I'm excited for it, and I think people should definitely keep an eye out for it. But it's not like I can be like, wow, man, I had a great time doing the thing, because it's just like it's been a tough one to like really see the full mechanics of in a demo setting.
Yes. Definitely check it out. Looking here, I pulled the Steam page for all these games just so we can reference it. There's a demo on Steam, so you can see it for yourself, right? Check it out. I'm sure a lot of these games also have like demos or are available somewhere. Check it out. It's cool. I know it's hard to describe.
It's such a weird one because I'm like, this seems cool. What is it? I don't really know.
Yeah, I can't really tell you. I think if you watch the trailer, which again I'll throw up here on the video version, you'll get an idea of what we mean for a lot of this. But definitely try it out and play it for yourself, because it does still even then play different than what just the trailer kind of portrays.
Yeah, but yeah, it was an interesting one. I'm glad I got to see more about it. Next up, Die in the Dungeon. I don't know what this is.
Die in the Dungeon. So this is a frog game.
Okay.
you play as little frog. Yeah,
the
frogs making a
trending.
comeback. You're a little frog and you're in this dungeon, and it's a not a deck builder, but like a die bag builder where you go into it's sort of Slay the Spire like, where you're kind of going along this path and you make choices at each pot. Sometimes you can the road will branch and you can go like up or down, and up maybe has a reward, down maybe has like a shop or something, right? And it's like, oh, eventually you converge and you get to the end of the dungeon to do like a battle. Along the way, though, you can also get into battles, and a battle is played out on a dice grid. So there's a 3x3 sort of diamond shaped grid, and you roll your dice, and then you can place your dice on the grid. And in relation to other dice is how like abilities or power or whatever is kind of like determined.
Oh, so, it looks really cute.
It looks, I love the aesthetic. So there's for instance, like blue dice might give you a shield. Red dice will, give you attack. Purple dice might buff other dice that are like in relation to it. And so if you roll, say these 3 dice and you put them in, depending on where you put them, it'll, maybe the purple dice will buff your shield while debuffing the enemy's dice or something like that. And that's the other part too, is like enemies also take up slots on this grid. So like you need to be aware of like where you put your dice so that you're not accidentally buffing the enemy or taking advantage of their buffs if they have any or things like that. So it's a strategy game. The aesthetic is very, very cool. I love the aesthetic. I want to play more of it. I see that there's also a demo on Steam, so definitely recommend checking it out. But if you're a strategy, like if Slay the Spire or like Monster Train or any of these kind of games, like you jam with those, give this a look. It's not the exact kind of game because, like I said, those are like card games and the mechanics are probably a little bit more intricate. But this definitely has like if you take the core of those games and you distill it down into something, I think Die in this Dungeon is a great representation of that.
Yeah, this looks cool. Even though like I worry about my ability to understand.
That's fair.
That game because
totally
it looks a little for those of the fans of the genre, but like the art is very cool.
It is also a game that, as I was playing it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like every 2 seconds I'd like try a thing just to like explore the game and see what it is. And then I understand what the mechanic is and be like, oh, that's really cool. Okay, cool. Oh, I can buff my die where like I just increase the value of all the faces, or like I increase one face by 2 or something like that. So like you're also like building, like I said, building and adjusting your die bag as you play, which I think is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And I heard some other people like walking by. I didn't even know what it was. And I just like walking the show floor, heard someone talk about, oh, Die in the Dungeon. Yeah, I heard the game's really good. It's like a strategy game. I was like, oh, really? You don't say. And I like went over, sat down. No one was there. It was in like a weird area of the floor where like it was like 4 games and like a little quad, and like no one was there playing any of the games.
Where was it near? I mean, obviously for people listening that didn't go,
it was kind of like behind Nikki Infinity ish. like up against that like back wall.
Infinity Nikki.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Infinity Nikki. I'm sorry.
Big fan. That is a weird spot. Was it with other indies?
Yeah.
Was it in that what did they call it? Like the one that had like all the random ones?
No. It was like near the food section more.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like a step in from the food, almost behind the Serenity Forge.
I wonder how the how that works out. I guess one day if we go to PAX as like exhibitors, we'll be finding about like how do you get like what space as like a
I imagine money.
I imagine that, but also like I don't know. Because you got to put somebody somewhere, at a certain point. I'm not sure. Like maybe also like what's the word? It's not seniority, but sort of. Like I wonder just if you've been there before, can you be like, I have my same booth? Because I also noticed some places I'm like, I feel like you're always in the same spot. Like I don't know, but yeah. All right, next up we got Luz Lagoon. This is a what's the simplest way? A cozy sim, kind of like in that cleanup, but it has like a delivery angle to it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the shortest way to talk about it. But you pull up and you're at like a little island, and you are like helping out like your uncle for like a delivery system, I think is basically the way to talk about it.
Yeah, you're kind of like helping deliver things around the island for your uncle.
Yeah. You're gathering resources, you're crafting. It's like that. It's like one of those kinds of games. And I'd say one of the big like differentiating sticks of this game is that you have like I don't know what they call it offhand, but it's almost like this little gun where it's like you can like suck up the materials in like a very slime ranchery fashion, and then you like spit them back out. There's also like cute little weirdo creatures. Like what was that bee? It was like a bee that kind of looked like a dog.
It was like a bee and a fox together.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there was the beaver, which is a bee and a beaver.
Yeah, and it's like you can get like the honey wood out of it or something. It's like you can kind of like suck them up as well to like almost as if you're like when you trim sheep. It's like that kind of action. There's also like there's no stamina meter in this game, which is like another kind of differentiating factor for it. And yeah, you're kind of going around. You're doing little quests. Like there is like other mechanics like cooking. There's some form of fishing, but it's not like traditional fishing. We didn't get to do that part of the game.
You generally use your little vacuum, which I looked it up. The Swirler 2000.
The Swirler. Honestly, that's kind of a legit name.
So you use your swirler, I think, for like most interaction with items and animals and everything. Like you're swirling something.
But there is this like the implication was sort of like when we were talking to like the team, they had mentioned kind of like, oh, we don't want this to just be like you're like almost like taking everything from this island. So I'm not sure if they like do the fishing like different where it's like you put the fish back. I'm not really sure what's up with the fishing part of it, but
maybe you like only get like the scales from it or something. Like they had a very like
eco-friendly
angle. Vibe. Yeah.
But yeah, what was this was one that you pointed out as a highlight that you wanted to get to. So
to me, it feels very much, and I'm sure it is partly because of your main tool is a vacuum. It feels very much like a Slime Rancher meets like the Animal Crossing kind of vibe, where it's like, okay, cool. Like I'm on this little area. I can clean it up. I can like build a chair here, put a lamppost there, kind of like, adjust it to my liking and like decorate it. But my main interaction is going around and vacuuming things. And like you suck material up, you spit material out to restore or build or fix a building or whatever. And the aesthetic is just very cute. It's like very that like I don't know what you call it, but like it feels like not necessarily
soft
like
cartoon.
Clay. Yeah, but it's like bubbly. Like it's I don't know. It is very cute. I do like. I'm going to probably just say that a lot this episode of like I like the aesthetic, and that's because. Well, I like cute, kind of like cool looking aesthetics.
Yeah.
But yes, this one, it looks cool. It reminds me of Slime Rancher. If you've played those games, I would say you maybe would like this.
I need to try Slime Rancher again. I keep bouncing off of it.
Really?
I think I just don't know what is going on in Slime Rancher.
It has very little like intro.
And then it's like, I don't know, I'm walking around and I pick something up. It's a lot of games, but I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I think something about it. It hasn't clicked for me yet. But I think the other thing that I liked about this was specifically with like the crafting items, like you place it down and it's kind of like a hologram, and then you like fill it with the resources required to craft it, which I think is really cool. Which I was talking to some of our friends about this element, and like one of them pointed out like, oh, well, Fields of Mystria has that. And, like that's why I love about Fields of Mystria. Which is like shout out to Fields of Mystria, no shade to Fields of Mystria. But what I like about this though is like it's not just for big structures though, because Fields of Mystery is more like a barn, which is like, it takes like 1 million wood, which I'm exaggerating. It's not 1 million pieces of wood, but it's like a lot of resources to build like a whole barn. Versus like a fence takes like, I don't know, 4 pieces of wood. Now I think again, different games. I'm not saying that Fields should do this because it wouldn't make sense with like the farming fantasy aesthetic, which is their thing. But with like Luz Lagoon having this like almost sci-fi element with the Swirler 2000, it kind of makes sense where it's like, it has like almost this high-tech angle where even a chair that doesn't take a lot of resources has that hologram. And what I like about that is because like one of the things, like sometimes I don't know like what I want until I can like plan it out a little bit more. And the ability to just like put down a bench, know kind of where it is and what it'll generally look like without having to commit to like filling it up is like nice to me. So I like that aspect of it. And you have a plane as well that you can like fly around. Now I was so bad at flying the plane, so I'll give you that. But I wasn't a big fan of how it controlled. But what I did really love about the plane is you can go through the clouds, and that like looks very cool. Yeah. Like you see like the wispiness of it like surrounding you in a way that I don't see in many games, especially games of like this genre. Like usually that kind of like cloud physics is reserved for like realistic sims and not like cartoony stuff. So that was something I thought was cool about it. I think the art is familiar without being generic to me, but I definitely think some people might. I think what this has going against it is because you start off with like that plain kind of look and you're at an island and then you have like that classic like Breath of the Wild glider. Like I think some people will look at this and be like, it's like bootleg Animal Crossing. It's bootleg open world Animal Crossing or something like that. But like I do feel like these setups and everything feel distinct. I don't know if that'll be enough to make it an interesting enough game, but I've played a lot of like games of this genre and I think this did a better job demoing than a lot of those other titles do. Like I'm like, this is like a solid one to highlight. But anything else you want to say on Luz Lagoon?
No, I think the other thing, which again we mentioned and just to kind of like emphasize home, is that I think the goal is to be more cozy than a lot of other games where it's like you said, there's no stamina. They also mentioned that like you don't ever like lose resources. Like if you put 10 wood into a chair, if you break that chair down, you get the 10 wood back. So like you're never like locked into that sort of like what is it, analysis paralysis of like, oh man, do I want to go down this direction and use this resource for this? It took me a long time to get it, or this, that. Like you could always backtrack and get your things back and make something else, which I think is really cool.
Nice. Next up, another, I would say more you game, even though I love the look of this game as well. Athena Crisis.
Yeah. Athena Crisis. I really found out about this game and really vibed with this game first, just because it's doing what I am trying to do with Stacks, where it's using web technology. So it's not using like a traditional game engine like Unity or Godot or Unreal or anything like that. They're using, HTML, CSS, JavaScript to like build this game. And so that's really how I knew about it. Like I was like walking the show floor and I saw it and I was like, oh wait, I know that game. And then I remember like, oh wait, Janet has an appointment to see this game.
Like this was so funny to me because like in every game, like, and I mean this like genuinely, it's not like, oh, I'm just saying because I want content, but like every game I sign up to play, I genuinely think it has like the chance to be like a good game, an interesting game, a game that's up my alley. Cause I get a lot of appointment requests, and there's a lot of games available. Pretty much every game available will send out like a, hey, do you want to see our game? Like almost every single game sends out that in some form, whether it's through like Press Engine, whether it's through their PR. So I really try to just pick stuff that I like am interested in. So Athena Crisis, I came across my email. I thought it was interesting. I think the art style was pretty eye catching. That being said, I have a lot of appointments, so I don't always, unless like it's a game that maybe I knew about before, like Beastie Ball, like. I don't always remember like, oh yeah, what is this? I know I wanted to see it because that's why I signed up. So it was funny when you were like, oh my God, you're seeing Athena Crisis? And I was thinking, what was Athena Crisis? What was Athena Crisis? Like again, at the time of signing up, I knew what it was.
Yeah.
But a week later, I'm like, Athena Crisis. It also kind of has a name that kind of is vague enough that I'm like, what is this about? So yeah, this is a what's that game?
Advance Wars.
Advance Wars. Yes, this is an Advance Wars which I've played a lot of games based on Advance Wars, but still have not played Advance Wars. Yeah, this is, tactics. I think one really fun element of this tactics game is that it has fantasy elements in it.
Yeah.
Where you can have like a dragon and like other stuff like that.
Whereas like Advanced really Wars is, I guess, more traditionally like rooted in
the war,
cartoon military kind of elements. It's like based in a sense of reality. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, there's tanks and jeeps and gunmen and this, that. They also decided, like you said, to go like a little bit more fantasy, where it's like, oh, like you can have a dragon or zombies in your army, and like, you know, you bite and take over other enemy units because they're a zombie, and you turn them to your side, and
that's really fun.
That was really cool. That was honestly super dope. I think also the which again, hyping back to the web tech of it all, it also like has a like map builder.
Yeah.
Which I think is super dope, that you just kind of like jump into it and you can like make and then share these like maps with people, and some people are like recreating, I guess, like old maps from like old Advanced War games already, and you know, things like that. And it also looks good. I don't know, like I love the little like pixelated kind of like art style of it.
Yeah, I think what works for this game is that they have a really distinct color palette. There's another game that I played that had like a really good use of color. It might have been Cruisers of Ava, honestly, but like even though again, Cruisers of Ava, asterisk on like the game's not that good, but like I think there's some cool things about that game. And like with Athena Crisis, it having that pink. I think also pink is such like a good distinct color because it's not like used that often for games, especially games that aren't like, I don't know, cozy coded or like girly coded. So by them using pink, it's like, oh, this like looks kind of different, and it's also just a good standout color. So like all of like your what would you call them, forces, like your team members, your units, that's a good word for it. Yeah, your units are like pink, and that kind of just makes things stand out. And like the art just looks really good. It's just a very pleasing game to look at. We only played like I think 2 of the like maps essentially. It was cool. I mean, I wasn't like, wow, this is like crazy cool, but I'm like, oh yeah, like this is very solid, seems interesting. Lots of different like environments that you'll go through, and definitely it's like some of that's not also heavy into tactics. For this appointment, I'm like, oh my god, like I hope I don't like do terrible because I'm like, because also we just got like thrown in there. I mean, the PR person was there to like add like insight and discuss like the stuff, but I'm like, do I need to do cover? Do I need like I was really trying to still kind of figure out my basis a bit in this one, but it was pretty cool, and it isn't out now in early access apparently.
Yeah, they also like open sourced some of, like, you know, harping back to the tech stuff.
I mean, talk about, because I don't fully like, what is that like? Tell me about like what that means.
Essentially, like published some aspects of the code that they wrote to make the game for like other people to use and like see and use to make their own games and things like that. Not the like kind of intellectual elements of it. Like the art is not open source. The music, I'm assuming, is not open source. But like the controller for level selecting might be open source, or like the, you know, elements that go into making that like map maker might be open source. So like, if you like it, you can try it in your own game. Kind of
What's
thing.
What can you explain the bounties and like the paid thing that I was talking about too? That like people can get paid to like.
Yeah, they have some bug bounties. So like so like me, for example, right? I know web technology. I work with web stuff all day. If I wanted, I could take a look at their code, find bugs, submit the bugs. Like, hey, like here's a bug I found. Maybe I also submit a fix for it. Maybe not. But like the act of just like, hey, I found this bug. It, you know, stops users from being able to progress the game or something like that. The developer could be like, oh, cool. Like this is a legitimate bug that you found. Here's the money for submitting this bug. And like they would pay Joe Schmo.
So you're like a real life bug catcher.
Kind of, yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah. It's almost
for tech.
In a way, like, I don't know. It's not as like negative as like, oh, having your users QA your game kind of thing. Like that can have a very negative connotation. This is not that. This is like, oh no, like we appreciate the help that the community can give us to help make the game better. And so we reward people who bring these like issues to our attention.
Well, also, and like, feel free to elaborate on this because you're the one that knows about it. But like, open source culture is more like, it's kind of like that. It's almost like to me, like the vibes. And let me know, like, explain, you know, with, I'm going to bring a very colloquial understanding and then supplement that with your like actual understanding.
Yeah.
But the vibes I kind of get of like what open source is, it's almost like a potluck kind of vibes where it's like, oh yeah, I am cooking for free, but like someone else like made the macaroni salad. So even though actually macaroni salad is nasty, so I don't know why I use that.
Hey man, that's open source.
Hey, someone is, it's not all good at the open source cookout, whatever. But like that's kind of the vibe where it's like, oh, you could look at it. Some people might read this as like, oh, free labor or cheap labor.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, we're all coming to the potluck.
Yes.
So we all brought like our own little thing.
Yes, that is.
But give me the real.
No, that's a pretty good analogy. Yeah, it's like, hey, maybe I don't know, slightly.
You can say better analogy. It's okay.
I'm not gonna say better, but a slightly different analogy would be like, oh, if there is a company that, or if there's a group of people that like take care of a public park, like they go in, they clean up dog poop and fix the soccer net, and like they keep the park usable so that everyone can benefit. Even if they do not like own the park, they're not saying like, oh, this is our park, like you can't use it or anything like that. But it's like a labor of love that like these people come together to like maintain this thing so that everyone can benefit from it.
Okay.
Now there are some people who will be like, oh, well, we're going to do a rec league at the park. Yeah. And that's like them trying to like monetize using open source things where it's like, oh, you can't join our rec league unless you pay us $10 or something like that. And it's like, well, technically you can do that. There's no like law stopping you from doing that. But at the same time, it's not in the heart of the people who are maintaining the park to like put it behind paywalls necessarily, Yeah, it's a open source is a weird.
I have a feeling we will be revisiting this a lot,
especially in the web space. Open source, like oftentimes you'll find a company.
I'm
comes
like, what
out
is
with
the source,
something,
and then how do you open it? I'm like, just
you'll find like a company like creates a tool that is free and open source, and like they give it to developers and encourage people to try it out. It makes life better. But then they'll on the side of that, they'll sell a product that ties very heavily into their open source product that is paid. And so it's like, oh, well, like, yeah, use our soccer ball and play our game and everything like that. Oh, but if you want like the best field, then you got to pay for it over here. But you can play soccer. You can play soccer at home. And does like the
culture, is the culture basically okay with that? Or is that seen as like a negative? Or is it just like up for debate?
It's kind of up for debate.
And then where do you stand on that? I don't know if I'm putting you in the hot seat. No. You're going to get canceled or something.
No. I understand it. There's it takes money to, again, keep it with this analogy. It takes money to maintain the field, right? To fix the net, to repair the balls and patch the holes and this and that and the third. And like, if you can, you should be, financially supporting the people who do that so that you can continue to benefit from it, right? Like if you can't financially support them, that's fine. It is free and open source and you can, benefit from it. But if you can give back, that's generally good. I think what gets weird is like if, again, you have like one field with like better grass that you reserve for paid people, and then you have like a worse, less maintained field that's free for everyone to use. It's like, oh, well, that's a slippery slope now. It's like, oh, well, are you like keeping resources back for your paid grass and, kicking the stuff you don't care about over to the free people?
So is there like a tip jar in the, like, if it's like, it's like an open, so, I want to use this field, and they're like, cool, it's download for free, pay what you want kind of vibe?
Yeah, okay. They have that. Generally, it's just all download for free, but GitHub, which is like a platform that a lot of developers... I've heard this word
a lot of times.
Yeah, GitHub. A lot of developers use GitHub to kind of like hold their code and like share their code. You can support people, much like kind of like Twitter. You can like pay to support people, or like a Ko-Fi or Patreon or whatever. Hey, it's like, hey, I love your work. Continue doing what you're doing. Here's $3 a month, or $10 a year, or $50 a year, $100 a year, $500 a year. Like you can, give as little or as much as you want to kind of support them.
All right. Okay.
So, yeah. Athena Crisis.
There's so many. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, went to a whole other world. But yeah, Athena Crisis was cool. Even though it's not my number one like genre style, but I was into it. Let me put on my wish list at least so I can keep an eye on the full release. But yeah, the early access hit March 5th apparently. So yeah, and it was cool. With the whole like browser, it being made like with like web. How would you call this again? It's made with web
technology.
Web technology. Yeah. The PR person was saying that like people have played this game like in PowerPoint.
Yeah, I guess because it's just like, okay. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, you can like embed it into a lot
it's ready
of things.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was interesting. Yeah, it was cool. All right, moving on to Love Eternal. This is another one where it's like, look, and I really like this game a lot, but the name conjures nothing. And then when it's like, when I hear what the game actually is, I'm like, I don't get that from this name. Now, maybe it'll make more sense when you like play it. Almost like this is a little bit of a tangent, so I'll try to keep it short. But like, I did end up doing a little preview of Metaphor Refantagio, unrelated to any of this PAX stuff. I had a really small snippet, and like around that time, like a much bigger preview happened for like other people at other outlets, where it's like, oh, they got 4 hours and they stood in like a fake library that looked like parts of the game. You know, it was like a big fancy preview event. And it reminds me of like with SGF also had a preview cycle for Metaphor, and like when people came out of that, they were like, oh, you know, like Blessing told me, is like when you play it, it makes more sense why they call it Metaphor Refantagio. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if like, you know, your first name is Metaphor and your last name is Refantagio. Yeah. This is a dumb, messy name. Love Eternal isn't quite that bad of a name, but it is a little bit like, what? So, you know, take a second. If you've never heard of this game, think of what this game could be. And I don't think in a million guesses you'd get it. This is a psychological horror platformer, which also is not a genre mashup I think you get often, or if at all. No. Yeah, this was super rad. This came from publisher Ysbryd. I
say Wisebird, but yeah.
Yeah, we struggle a lot. It's YSBRYD Games. They have a lot of like really cool stuff. And we played like maybe like less than half an hour for sure. It was like a short
20 minutes
short little demo of the beginning, I think, allegedly, of the game. Or I assume it's the beginning. I forget if they said it was. But you have like this like weird like dinner scene. Like you're like eating dinner with your family, and then it's like the phone rings and you like go to get the phone. And then when you come back, like they're all gone. And then you go through a door, and then boom, now you're in like this platforming area. And the level design is very one screen ethos platforming, where you have like a one screen that has a series of different environmental obstacles. And this is a game that is doing the gravity flip thing. So the VVVVV comparisons are ripe with this one. But of course, VVV is not the only game that's done gravity flipping. It also has the go ahead. Go ahead.
I forget it.
Reggie, his second cousin, 2 scientists, and most likely the end of the world. Yeah. I think it's like a little game that we played at the Mix. Maybe we'll touch on that briefly. Just be like, shout out to Reggie. That was a fun game, and it also had a gravity flip. This has one of those where it is nerfed by like you have a limitation. You can't just flip forever. It's like you have like I think just basically one flip until you like touch the ground. Like you have to touch a surface to get another one. But there's also like these red orbs that you can hit to like get an extra flip. Yeah. And at that point in the demo, you can kind of see, all right, like they're going to be playing with like, then you flip, then you don't, then you like chain them. And it was really fun. You play as like this, I don't know if the girl is young or not, but like it's
she seems small.
Yeah, female coded character, but her design is cool because it's pixel art, to be clear. So it's very like minimalist look, but it does have like that like Celeste flowing hair of like the, like her hair's white in this game. It's like, it just is kind of a very like, it's a nice distinct look to it. And I think it like fits with like that flow and the zipping of like the platforming. I thought the platforming was really good, really fun. Like I cannot wait to get into more of this. And then narratively, we also got like this weird look into like at one point you're playing the game like from doing the platforming. Then there's like a really hard quick cut. And then you're back at like the dinner table. But like your dad, it's like he has his head like on a spider's body.
Yeah, he's doing a little dancey dance.
Isaiah's laughing because it looked like he was dancing, like because he's kind of like undulating in like a funky way. I mean that's essentially the game. So like that being said, we did not play enough. Well, I feel like I didn't play enough to comment on like how interesting the narrative will be. The PR person was, and obviously they're PR, so like, they're always gonna be talking positively about the game, right? But they said like, yo, this game gets like fucking crazy. Like there's stuff in this game you've never seen in game. Now I'm like on a little bit thick compared to what they said, but they were pretty like, there's wild stuff. Yeah. Now again, like I didn't experience the wild stuff, so I'm not about to say that like this is gonna be this iconic narrative, but I definitely have an excitement for seeing what they are doing narratively, and I think narrative and platformers it's very rare to do it and to do it well. Obviously, Celeste is iconic for that. Yeah. Probably, I feel like this is just asking for people to come out of the woodwork and tell me that they're narrative platformers, but hell, I'm down to play it. I love narrative and I love platformers. I don't know if another platformer has done narrative nearly as good as like Celeste. I think it's just so rare for a platformer
like
to really,
2D platformer
to really have something, even 3D. I mean, what's the best story?
Edith Finch.
It's not a platformer though.
I would say
I would say Edith Finch is a walking sim. You barely jump in that game. You only jump when you're the cat.
I guess.
So anyway, we can continue to think on that, but that definitely has me have I'm excited. And now looking at this trailer also, I'm seeing some twisted stuff in here. So
yeah. It's what is it? Was it dogs? It's like a recurring theme or something like that.
Oh, is it the dogs?
I think it was dogs. It was like a statue of like a dog or something like that.
Oh yeah, there's like animal statues in the back. I was like, oh, is this Animal Well? Like, what's going on? But anyway, I talked about this for a while. You also played a bit and got to hear the pitches on Love Eternal and stuff. But like, what was this? And then for the deep cut of someone that follows all my content, when we streamed yesterday for Astro, you had some big words about being a Mr. Platformer.
Oh,
Mr. Platformer
I
man.
wasn't saying I'm Mr. Platformer man. I'm just saying I'm good at platformers. I enjoy a nice.
Isaiah thinks he's better at platformers than me, which I think is fair in a sense, but the speed at which your level of confidence, I think, is like I'm aghast because I'm really good at platformers.
You are.
Wow.
I'm also really good. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I just feel like to not even debate it, that's the insulting part to me. To like not even like you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like you weren't even like, I wonder who you're like, oh no, I'm better. But when Love Eternal comes out, we can go bend for bend.
We can go jump for jump.
We can go bend for bend. Yeah. I was dodging those spikes. No, anyway, but sorry, go ahead. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, no, I think it was really cool. It has an art style that reminds me of, I think it's the Sword and Sorcery games. By I think it was Capybara. But it's like this pixelated, like earthy colors, dark tones, simplistic like body shapes. It's not quite like kind of like elongated proportions as Sword and Sorcery, but it's got that same like kind of vibe of character design. And yeah, no, I'm not a big narrative person in most games, let alone my platformers and stuff like that. So like to get me interested in this is a shock to me, where it's like, oh, okay, no, this is actually seems really cool. This seems really dope. I'm down to like, I want to see more. I want to see like what's going on with this family. Again, we got Spider Dad dancing on the table. It's got like some unintended kind of funny moments.
Yeah, as I was rolling with the Spider Dad started dancing.
I'm with it. And I don't know, love to again play a woman. It's like, all right, cool. We got cool woman in the game. It's not some random dude. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And I don't know. It's just, I'm just interested in seeing more of this game.
Oh, and the length is also pretty nice too. 4 to 6/8 hours is the length of this one.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good weekend, a good afternoon to evening, kind of like longer play session if you want. Sounds like you can maybe knock it out in a day. Sounds like you could also take your time with it. I'm with it.
Yeah, this one's gonna be really fun. So, shout out to platformers. But yeah, let us know in the comments or on socials if you know like the best like narrative platform, because there really just aren't that many.
Yeah,
it's like at best even like ones where I'm like I enjoy the lore, like like Jack and Daxter. It's like, yeah, but the story is not like, it's not like wow, like I'm so moved. It's like it's fine, like it's like more than you normally get, but it's still not.
You mean when Jack said I'm gonna go Praxis, that didn't move you?
It did move me. Like don't ever say that it didn't, because it like that meant a lot to me. But that's one of the like, that's probably one of the actually the better examples, and it's still not that like, I'm not like.
No, it's fair.
Oh my gosh, there's a couple little twists, but nothing crazy. Yeah, so it's rare.
Most platformers, if there is a story, it is just like serviceable to get you to keep playing.
Mr. Magpie wants to destroy Earth, and we're gonna get the 7 keys to like open the door that he's sat behind. But speaking of platformers, we got another one on the list. We got Croak.
Oh, Croak is awesome.
You kind of introduced me to Croak. It had hit my email inbox, but at the time I was so like already backlogged in meetings that I didn't take an appointment for Croak. But I was like, this feels like interesting. And then you had played it, and you're like, yeah, you should play Croak. So tell me about Croak. Why should people be playing Croak?
Croak is I'm going to dub this like a runner platformer. I don't know what they actually call it. They just call it a... Oh, God. You play as a frog, and you have presumably one mechanic, which is two. You can jump and like land on things, and you can use your tongue to like grapple onto things. And when you grapple onto something, you do like a little bounce off of it, and you kind of like use that to help with your traversal around the world. And so the demo we played, it was a time demo. You kind of like introduced to, I'm assuming his name is Croak. I don't actually know. Yeah, sure. We're going to call him Croak. You're introduced to Croak, who, by the way, chunky boy. Love the chunky frog.
Such a chonkers. He's so round.
He got a big belly.
And he's so happy, and he runs with his little juicy belly floating in the wind. He is such a friend-shaped friend.
Yes, that is a great way to put him. He's got this just like shit-eating grin too. It's so good.
Yeah, he's a little stinker.
Yeah. But you kind of are introduced to the mechanic of like, oh, you can jump on little enemies. You can bounce off of walls. You can grapple to a wall to like kind of pull you towards it. And that's also kind of how you do like damage. Like the demo we played ends with a little boss battle of a like beaver on a tricycle or something like that. Yeah. And again, very funny, very
actually it's
wacky.
A bicycle.
Oh, it's a bicycle. Okay.
Yeah.
Where like, oh, he'll come up from the ground, and sometimes he misses landing his little bike trick, and he'll like flop to the floor, and then you have to like take your tongue and like grapple his nose to like hit him, and that's like kind of how you do damage. So it's the gameplay is very much about building a movement momentum, and then like using your momentum to kind of like navigate and move through the level to the end to like the next screen. But yeah, so you tried it. Were other people kind of like I'm not gonna say overhyping it, but like did it meet the expectations set by other people at the con?
Yeah, I would say so. I think in a way it kind of exceeded expectations for me as well. I think also not visually, because like the art style of Cuphead is so like visually, like, ain't no one going to touch Cuphead. But it kind of does remind me like tonally, like it has that cartoon, like Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it. Yeah, I think this was fantastic. It definitely was tough to like, I had a hard time getting a sense of how to do the movement, but that was very much a me thing, not a game thing of like, okay, how does this momentum work? Like you hold down for a certain amount, you gotta know when to release. But I think it's so fun. I think it's a really cool take on a platformer because it's not just about jumping, which like I'm fine with platformers that are just about jumping. Like I think jumping that's the core of the platformer, and you still jump here, but because it has that momentum angle to it, it kind of almost felt a little bit like what's that game that we're always talking about that we love, the pinball one?
Oh, Yoko's Island Express.
Yoko's Island Express.
But like, great game.
If you had to be in charge of like the ricochet, because in Yoko's Island it's more about like you're interacting with an environment that has like ricochet spots set up for you. Croak is like you make your own ricochet spots. Like you have walls and things, but you're like using that tongue grapple to like yeet yourself around the room. And I think it also has some really cool additional mechanics that seem to be present in the game. Like in the demo we played, you could touch like a snowflake and then you get like frozen in an ice block to like slide across a spiky area. Much like Love Eternal, this is also a one-room platformer design, which I mean, you could argue like all 2D platformers is because you can only fit so much space on the screen. But like when I say that, I'm more so speaking towards every time you enter a room, you are kind of being presented with a form of a challenge. Well, I think a 2D platformer, sure, it is inherently like a screen, but like I think for certain 2D platformers, it's more of like a rolling screen, instead of like room. Like I think Mario doesn't really do screen design. They do more like you're just going through a zone. This feels very much like you're entering an area and you got to like figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I didn't like about it, which you can argue is like a good thing on my part, which fair, is for the boss, you're a one-hit death character.
Yeah.
And I don't like one-hit death bosses for...
No, me
platformers.
Either. Like it's really rough.
I will say I kind of gave it a pass on like Super Meat Boy. Like I think that did fit the ethos of the game, but I also think Super Meat Boy's bosses were very platforming oriented bosses. And this boss, like obviously you're platforming because you're zipping around, but you're more like, I don't know, it didn't feel as good. Like I wanted to have, and it's funny because we just, we've been playing Astro, which I'm sure we'll talk about in future weeks. But when you face a boss in Astrobot, they give you 2 little hearts extra. Because I think like it's not fun to like just die. Even then, I was dying on some of them bosses. Not gonna lie, but like it's not really fun to like just keep dying on the boss. And I also don't know if the boss is. They might be checkpointed in Croak. I'm not sure.
I think they are.
Yeah, because it's tough. I like died. Like my time was up before the demo was done. Also, just because I know at some point, if not now, at some point we'll have like at least a developer listening to the show. Shout out to a good demo time. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Baby, we don't need no more time. Like I love all of y'all's games. I get it. But you letting these people sit for a 30-minute demo and it take them 45 minutes to do it. Like this is so much time. Like that is time that I'm like just not gonna sit to play your game. And like I get when people get to like their turn, they like want to like feel fed by the game. But the reason it takes you so long to get to your turn is because you let everybody else spend like an hour on your game. I know I keep ratcheting up the time, but like I loved this being like, okay, this is the slice. It's a 10-minute demo. / it also has an end because they also, and I think they're really smart at like doing like the leaderboard, like the speed run leaderboard. Like that team was just killing it for like, and you could tell, you know, it's literally not the first con. They had just come back from Gamescom. So like, yeah, they were in their bag. They had a good game. They had the little crowns. They even were at the mix. So they were like hustling that game. Like, I don't know how many people and setups they had, like, but holy cow. But yeah, I think it was a great game. It was honestly, I'm trying to think, was it my favorite platformer of the show? It might be, but I think if you said like, you can only pick one to like play to its entirety, I would go with Love Eternal because I think it has like the more interesting pitch. While like Croak, it's like, I can see that. I'm going to have fun. It's going to be dope. But it is like almost in a way easier sell because it's like it's kind of just more fun to look at, more fun to do. While like Love Eternal, I think it does have like general appeal, but like I'm a platforming sicko, so it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, and then you hit the spot you gotta hit, and it's like all more minimalist. It's just like brooding, you know. So like, yeah, but this was like, it was so fun and it was really well crafted, which like you don't always get both. I would actually say you often don't get both of those in a platformer, which again I'm in on kind of almost any platformer anyone makes at this point. But Croak was fire. I loved Croak. Continuing on, we have representing the Seattle Indies Expo, Headwaters. So the Seattle Indies, am I saying that right? Is it Seattle's Indies Expo?
I believe
or
it's
Expo? Okay.
Seattle's Indies.
So they've been going on for like quite a few years. This is a free event that happens. I don't know if it always happens at this hotel, but it was at what was the name of our hotel? The Motif?
The Hilton Motif.
The Hilton Motif was this year. I don't know if it's like that every year. But it is totally free. You do not need a PAX badge to enter. You do not need to be pressed. You do not need anything. You can just walk to the floor that it's on, and that's it. And I emphasize that just because, and I'm sure they're not alone, but somebody on Twitter had like responded to me and they're like, oh, what is this? Like, I live in Seattle and I've never heard of this event. So like, yeah, come through. They had maybe like 30-ish games there. Like they had quite a few games
something
there.
Like that,
you know, varying degrees of like, some people was like, this game is already out and purchasable. Some people are like still working on the game, you know, kind of ran the whole spread there. And Headwaters was a game that we played that's a fishing game. And it's very like fishing emphasized. And by that, I mean like that is like the core gameplay mechanic and everything else is like supporting that. So you can like use your money from catching fish to like sell the fish at a store and then buy more rods. And you can also buy like a train ticket in the game to like go to more areas on the map and then presumably catch more fish. And certain fish have like different properties too. Like there's one fish that can turn like invisible, which was really fascinating.
That was really cool.
And the mechanics are very like Stardew fishing style, but it's more like in your face surfaced, like just like UI design wise, because like there's like a bottom meter that shows like the tension and then, you know, where you want to like move it's not a reticle, but like almost like the dial, you know, you're like tuning it to like catch the fish. I think the tutorial was very, very clear. Really well done. The art is really like soothing. It's kind of like it's somewhat pixelated, but it kind of almost has like
chunky pixelated.
Yeah, it's like high def pixelated or something, because it's like there's a lot of clarity in the look, but it is still technically a pixelated game. It kind of looks like the emphasis on like the environmental design and the look of it. It kind of reminds me of like Bob Ross paintings a little bit of just like, you know, you're there and you're like in like a cityscape or you're like in the woods, and they have like a really they have a really beautiful use of like color palette per environment. That seems like very much like an emphasis they have. Mm-hmm. They have like a day-night cycle as well. They have a very cheeky like, you caught this fish, and it's like has like that old. It's like that old meme template, like of the like where like the waves come out.
Yeah, like almost like who's that Pokemon kind of presentation.
Yeah, like if you go to like meme generator and you look at the little thing, like I don't know, it has those like the fan out little colors there. But it was really cool. The dev had said that the big thing that they're sort of working on, I think, is like integrating like a narrative more in the game, which like that's really the only thing that's kind of like, I don't want to say getting in the way of the game because that sounds kind of negative, but like why am I playing it? Like I liked playing it, really enjoyed my time playing it, but like will this be enough for people to be like wanting to play it, recommending it? Like it is very focused on that one mechanic. So I do think like a little bit of extra stuff will go a long way, while still hopefully maintaining like the core of, you know, what you have. I also read in the Steam description that it seems like a big part of this is like meeting these like birds, because like the birds are like the sellers of the stuff. So I don't know if there's going to be like some fun, like, I don't know, thing going on with the birds or like, I'm not really sure. But, you know, I think Dredge and many other games have proven that plenty of good games involve like hyper focusing on like one layer, but then having like, what's that almost like secret sauce to like the progression, or like what's going to pull you in further as a player besides just wanting to like collect a lot of things, which was very fun in its own right. Like if they dropped this now as it is, I would still think it's like an enjoyable and cool game, but it would be as is, it would be a little harder to recommend just because it doesn't have like that enough of a carrot on a stick, even though like the fishing aspect was like very good, very fun. I was like very into this game. But yeah, you played a little bit of Headwaters as well, and you talked to the dev for a while.
Yeah. I found it interesting on the tech side, the dev is using Godot, which is like, honestly, this is like one of the few.
Yeah, I'm like, no one's rocking with Godot in the streets. You know,
a lot of Unity, a lot of Game Maker. There's so much Game Maker.
Is Game Maker the new Godot?
PAX. No, it's like the old Godot. It's Game Maker's been around for a long, long time. So yeah, I was like just kind of very surprised to see that, and that's like kind of what originally brought me to the game. I was like, oh, I saw them like restart the demo, and they just like quit the Godot preview and then just like boot it up again. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna take a look at this. But yeah, no, the game is super solid. It like you said, very much is that Stardew Valley fishing mechanic of like you're trying to keep the fish within a certain reticle. But they added that like tension, that line tension to it as well, which I think is really cool. Where like when it's in the reticle, you can hit a button to like kind of reel it in. But if you're reeling it in outside of the reticle, then it's just adding tension. And at if you overload the tension, then it like snaps and you lose the fish. So it's a little bit more risk reward.
You release the tension by having the reticle, which is like a hook shape on the line, having that over the fish without reeling it in. So then it's like. Yeah, it was very fun.
It's very simple, but like really well executed like mechanic. And again, I love the art style. The developer who does everything, I believe he said he did everything, you know, from the art, the music, the programming.
I think so. I think they're like roommates or something. We're like running the computer in the back.
He had his roommates like come out and like help, you know, do the demo and like run the table, which was like super dope. And they're also like, you know, great guys.
It was funny because they were just like. Yeah, like sitting on the other side, like kind of just like almost like puppeting the demo to like run.
Yeah. He taught him how to like
restart
command
it,
Q and then hit the play button. Yeah. You know, you know, I guess they grew up in the Headwaters is, I guess, either a real place or at least heavily influenced by where they grew up. So I thought that was really cool. The developer, I guess, originally has like a background in like pixel art. Like he's done pixel art for a while and even like had some of his like work for sale and stuff like that. And so like you can tell like I think you comparing it to like kind of Bob Ross scenery is like really good in that like it's just some like very great looking scenic shots in this game. Yeah. Like each environment, each location you go to just looks to me like you could just put that on like a wallpaper or something. You know what I mean? Like it looks really good.
Apparently, headwaters are the source of a stream or river.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we grew up in cities, so I'm like, I don't know what this is. I was like, I was like, Headwater, this game's crazy. Wow. I was like, whoa.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, what's the narrative here? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure they have gotten that joke a lot, probably at some point. But again, maybe I think it's one of those things. It's almost like the bimbo thing, probably. Yeah. Where like, for those who don't know, so keeping a long story short, Bimbo is a Mexican brand of like pastries, snacks, whatever. Yeah. But I never really realized because like I'm not fluent in Spanish or anything, but I grew up around like knowing that brand. Like, oh, it's Bimbo, yeah, like they have little pastries, whatever. And they sponsor Chivas, right? Like I think they're the Chivas sponsor. At one point they sponsored Chivas, whatever. They've been sponsored before on like jerseys, says Bimbo. And I saw one time a TikTok of someone being like, oh my God, I bought this jersey because it's so cool. It says like Bimbo on it. And I'm like, I guess Bimbo is Bimbo. Like I never read it that way. And then I asked Isaiah, since he doesn't have like a background in Spanish, I'm like, so when you see this, you see Bimbo?
I just see Bimbo, yeah.
And I'm like, so you think I'm eating these Bimbo pastries? That's crazy. Anyway, but yeah, so Headwaters, it was cool. It has a Steam page, so if you're, you know, looking to keep up with it, you can wishlist it and keep an eye.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain every game we have here has a Steam page.
Which on that note, where's the Steam page for Stacks? That's what I was thinking when I was looking this up. Because what is it? What can you just be like page mate? Like what's up with what? You know, do you need like?
I think I need to get I could probably do it. I think I need a little bit. I need something to show.
You have something to show.
But that's old and not it. It's very different
in development. Well, yeah, but, you know. Okay. Well, we're gonna get you on there.
Let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah. But speaking of waiting, let's talk about
while
waiting.
Great.
This is another game that this one I did not think you would like.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a puzzle game.
I'm starting to realize that I don't even know who's sitting across from me at this podcast. So I played while waiting at SGF. So it's funny because I was by the booth later and they're like, you can play. And I'm like, I liked your game. I did play it before. like, oh, okay. But you played this like while I was doing other appointments. Yeah. And you were like, oh, while waiting. So what is this game? And then what speaks to you in this game?
So while waiting is it's more than a idle game, but it's not fully like a full puzzle game either. It is a game that if left alone, it will continue. It will keep going without you. Like each level is essentially timed, and at the end of the timer, it progresses. But during the level, there are kind of these like Untitled Goose Game like objectives that you can optionally complete, and each one you complete, you get a sticker for it. It also like, you know, it gives you something to do while you're waiting for the level timer to kind of finish. Yeah. So to me, that the real game is trying to accomplish as many of these objectives as you can before the undisclosed timer runs out, kind of thing. It's a very simple like line art style, almost like comic booky.
Yeah.
I really like the look of it, and it is just enough of like, again, that puzzle to like explore the room that you're in or the scenario that you're in to figure out what's going on. What are some things you can interact with? There's a lot of like WarioWare-esque kind of like moments where it's like you're jumping into this mechanic and it's here for 30 seconds and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So all very, very interesting. To me, it's like, yeah, I totally, it fills that a little to the left niche for me where it's like, I'm not, you know, playing this and getting sweaty from it or anything like that. But it's just like, oh, it's like a very
That's why I stopped playing while waiting.
Game.
Too many sweats.
Yeah. Controller was just drenched. It's like, I don't know, like we're playing this. I got like 20, 30 minutes to kill before something else goes on. Yeah, sure. Let me, hop into while waiting. Let me play like a level or two, see if I can get some of these stickers and then bounce.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I like it because it's like a weird, funky little game. Like it's, for me, it checks that box of like, for you, you're like, oh, this is like a puzzle game. And I'm like, this is like and I mean this nicely, this is an art house bullshit game. And I love my art house bullshit of like, almost like experimental, like weird, like what can a game be? Like I love when games do that kind of stuff. And I feel like this is one of those where it's like, hey, this is, you know, I forget, what's the name of the studio that made Helldivers 2 offhand? But that studio had mentioned, you know, and this is like a tagline that they have like written on their website, like a game for everyone is a game for no one. Arrowhead Game Studios. And I think that's very true. And this is definitely not a game for everyone. Like, people will play this game and be like, this is dumb and boring and annoying and weird. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's what makes it cool, that it's weird and annoying. But genuinely, yeah, I thought it's just like fascinating to like an approach to game design.
Yeah.
Where it is like intentionally stiff and kind of grating, but it also does have like cute little challenges to do. And they're like not very surface to the player at all. So it's like can be really hard to, I think there is like text that says like, that hints at like what the challenges are, but it's up to you to kind of like figure out what to do with it. I think there's also like fun stuff. Like there's at one point, I don't know if I got to this point in my demo, but like there's you can play a mobile game in that game, and then you can like watch an ad in the mobile game, like a fake ad. And it's like, or you could pay to like, it's like kind of commentating on like the funkiness of those, like that weird mobile game that you always get an ad for of like, oh, you pull the pin in the lava. It's like that kind of stuff. So they have like cheeky stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And like the dev is always such a pleasure to talk to, because like when I spoke to him at SGF, he's like, a lot of people play my game and they tell me they hate it. They hate it and that's dumb and that's bad. So anyway, I don't know. Like they were playing it and I'm just like, I don't know. Like I feel the vibes of like, here's my weird little game.
Oh, this is the Mooncage people.
And check it out. Yeah. What's Mooncage? Because I'm noticing they're hyping that. They're like, from the people of Mooncage.
Yeah,
like, what is Mooncage?
Mooncage is another diorama puzzle game kind of thing.
This looks cute.
I have it. I tried to play
fun.
it.
I've never seen this game before.
I tried to play it on Steam Deck and I couldn't get it to work. And I see now that it's now labeled playable, so maybe they did some additional work to kind of get it going. I do want to go back to it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I gotta get ready for while waiting while playing Mooncage. Yeah, this is cool. I like this, and I guess what I thought you wouldn't like it, because it's not like you like every game that's a puzzle game. So I thought you might find like it grating, because it is kind of grating. But I guess you're like open to like the mental challenge.
I didn't think it was great.
Finding it out.
Like,
maybe you're just really good at it, so you're like, oh, this is fine.
Maybe,
maybe you're flying through the puzzles.
My thing is, I guess it can't be grading, because you also, everything is optional. Like if you hit start and you just put the controller down, eventually you'll just progress through the game through each level.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, like how grading can something like that be?
Like me and Charles did not make the progression that you probably made, but I thought it was cool. I'm like, yeah, it's like it's a fun idea, and it's a cool little game. I thought it was interesting. I'm glad you liked it, and I'm a little surprised that you liked it. And I also was very delighted by the piece of swag you got from there, even though you can keep it with you.
Yeah. They gave away contextual to some of the levels they had in the demo. I think they said there's 100 levels in the final game, and the demo at PAX had 10 levels. So pretty good chunk, pretty good, like, sort of breadth of the gameplay you can find. In contextual to two of those levels, they had a can of Spam that you could take if you finished the demo, or a cup noodles, little ramen noodles. I took the noodles. I thought, honestly, I think that's like some of the most genius and affordable, like low budget.
Yeah. And they just put like the business card basically taped to the box. And I'm like, that's so like
it's
fucking
so good.
And I feel like that fits the tone. And again, it's not like this game was made as like a fuck you to players necessarily, but it's just like, here's my weird little art. Here's my weird little item. I just put it a little, like, you know what it's giving kind of? And again, this does sound insulting, but I don't mean it this way. It's kind of given like manic pixie dream developer of like, I made my weird little art, and then, oh, here's my weird little merch. And I'm like, I love you. You're weird. You're a weird little person. Yeah. You got your little art. I love stuff like that. Yeah. Last up, when I saw this on the like list to like do appointments for, I'm like, okay, we have to do this, because you named this as like one of your most anticipated games. We did our game anticipated draft. I don't know, we didn't have a cool name for it or whatever. Power Rangers.
Yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind. It is the demo we played is more or less exactly what I thought it was going to be, and I mean that in a positive way, where it's like, yep, we are the Power Rangers. You can pick which color Power Ranger you want to be. Rangers. You go through, you fight bad guys, you jump and kick and uppercut, and you can. They even have like a sort of like special bar that like you build up over time from like fighting, and when you activate it, it kind of like clears the screen. Like it does like a big animated like move that is thematically unique to each Power Ranger. Effectively, they all do the same thing, which is just like kind of like clear the wave that you're on. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up and themed to Power Rangers. And we talked to, I don't know if he's a part of the development team. I know he's a part of the development team.
He mentioned he wrote like a lot of it, or I don't want to say all of it because it's like,
I'm trying to think of like what was his official role if he ever mentioned it. I don't think he did.
But we met from Digital Eclipse.
Yeah, someone who from Digital Eclipse who works on the game and got some, I found cool information about it. Yeah. Like what was it like working with Hasbro? What did they have access to from the like Power Rangers IP? What could they touch on? What couldn't they touch on? What's the story of Rita's Rewind, which I thought was really cool, where it's like, oh, it's like Rita from the future goes into the past to like help Rita in the past, kind of
to timey-wimey.
Yeah, timey-wimey, kind of like take out the Power Rangers and do all of it. And so like you get some characters that are like introduced in like later seasons of Power Rangers showing up in here, even though it's like contextually an earlier time in the Power Rangers lore and stuff like that. So all very, very cool. I think if you're like a hardcore, not even hardcore, like a semi-hardcore like Power Rangers fan, it seems like you'll get some cool little nods and Easter eggs to things from like Power Ranger shows and movies and things. And yeah, so if you played Shredder's Revenge and you enjoyed that,
yeah,
and if you ever watch Power Rangers and you want to play Power Rangers, it's that. It is that, and it does it really well. It felt really good. I'm excited to play me, you, Edwin, maybe even throw like Arthur in there. They said they'll have like online co-op so you can like play with your friends online. I'm down to do it. I don't know many 5-player multiplayer games, so I'm excited
the 5
to like
is definitely,
try this out.
It's definitely like a cool little, I mean, obviously it's like because of the Power Rangers, but like it's like so cool. Like you don't get a lot of that. Yeah, it looked really good. Played well. I'm excited for the like the funkier stuff they have in there too. Like I know one of the things that was emphasized was like being able to get into, what do they call it? It's like the big, like, it's not a mech, but like,
oh, they're was it Megazord? Swords?
Sure, I don't remember, but like you can get into those from like the first person perspective for like the first time in like game history or whatever.
That sounded really cool.
There's like a really fun image of them like on a coaster together that I want to get to. Like there's some like fun little things like that, and it was just like cool. It's also fun just doing like gameplay of stuff that has like multiplayer, because you just end up playing with like random people, and that's like kind of fun. Yeah, it was cool. I had a good time with it. I'm glad you liked it. I was like, okay, we got to get in on this for like the hype that you came into it with or whatever. Yeah, that was, and it was funny. It was like the last appointment of the day, and I was like, literally, like, well, I didn't run because you texted me like, please do not run over here. Like, just come through normally. It's fine. But I had you like go ahead of me because I was like coming over from my Life is Strange appointment, and then like pulling up there and like getting to like chop it up with like the guy from Digital Eclipse, and like he joined us in playing. Like you had finished your round with like the random people that you had played with. But yeah, it was just a fun time. It was like a good, wholesome, enjoyable moment to just like kind of hang out and punch your way through. Again, beat 'em ups, they definitely can be done wrong, so I don't want to say like it's easy to make them, but like they're a very known quantity, and I feel like this is very much building on like, if you like other good beat 'em ups, this is another good beat 'em up. Yeah. It's like it's got some nice vibes to it. Closing out with some quick honorable mentions. Like I said, played Life is Strange Double Exposure. I'll be writing a lot of stuff about. I'm going to write about all these games that I talked about until I crash out. Is my plan. Like I cannot promise that I will write something for all of these, but beyond even what me and Isaiah just shared now, like I have played maybe like double the amount of these games that I still want to talk about, even whether the varying degrees of good, but like there's a lot I want to unpack of other stuff we played. But yeah, Life is Strange Double Exposure, played like 30 minutes of that. It seems cool. It is in the more Life is Strange vein, but it has a fun different reality mechanic, because the pitch of the game is that like you're Max, she's in college now, and her friend just got killed. And it's like you have a reality where the friend is dead and a reality where the friend isn't dead, and you're like doing stuff. So like the puzzles are solved across time basically, where it's like you had a thing where you're talking to your friend Moses, and he's like, oh, I really need like, oh man, I need like a screwdriver or something like that, from like, I had lent it out though to somebody, like go find me one. So then you go like into the other timeline, because in that timeline it's like, well, the screwdriver's just in his office still, so you grab that there, you come back, you're like, boom, you hand it to him, like that kind of stuff. Okay. So it's fun. Have you ever played the Life is Strange games?
No.
I do wonder, I mean, they're so story focused. Like they are more story games, but I wonder if you'd like the gameplay of them. Because they are like, I mean, they're not like hardcore puzzles or anything, but there's puzzle stuff to them that can be fun. So especially like the more like supernatural, like traditional stuff, like the Rewind and like OG Life is Strange is pretty fun. And I love True Colors, even though like that one's more of like, it's like your empathy powers, which did end up being cool. Like when I heard that, I'm like, there's no world where this is not whack as fuck.
The power to feel.
Yeah, like I'm like, this is stupid. And then I played it, I'm like, your game's actually incredible.
Yeah.
NMV, you know.
I imagine it would be like
NVM,
Inside Out, where it's like, what if feelings had feelings? It's like, well, what? That doesn't make any sense. But then it's like, oh no, it actually the execution is pretty good.
It's not as lit. I mean, Inside Out's so good. But like anyway, I'd be curious to see you like go through one of those games because like you're open to story and you like puzzles. So I'm like, maybe you could be a Life is Strange person. But yeah, that was one. Tethergeist was another platformer.
I like Tethergeist. Yeah. I want to play more of it. TLDR it's a sort of 2D warp platformer. Warper. Yeah, like you can sort of conjure a little like tethered ghost image of yourself and then like move it around and like warp to it.
Yeah.
As well as like do other kind of mechanically platformy things. Yeah. But I think I'm not gonna say issue you had with it, but the gripe you had with it is that some of the puzzles are similar to a Love Eternal, where there's maybe like an orb you can pick up in order to like do an extra jump or something like that. There are these like pickups you can do that sort of alter the next platforming mechanic you perform. And sometimes you need to be like a little more strategic in the order you pick things up, as opposed to having a more free form sort of set of things you can do. Yeah. Which I understand as like, oh, that's not as fun.
I liked it, but I liked it like when I was looking at footage of it, I'm like, yeah, this eats. And then when I played it, I'm like, why? I don't feel, to tie back to, you know, for people that listen to every episode, I didn't feel sweet in that game.
Yeah, yes.
And I want to feel sweet. I still am looking forward to it. It's a very unique take on a platformer. It looks gorgeous. It's a cool idea. But yeah, it is a lot of like the demo kind of like, what's the word? Crescendo isn't the right word. I guess climax would be like, if you think of a narrative, like the peak of the demo was, okay, and now you're going to like, and I'm slightly making it up because I don't fully remember. It'd be like, oh, the ability to use your tether and then the ability to like jump on these certain like orbs kind of. It's like, okay, well, you like walk underneath and plan ahead. Okay, I need a tether, a jump, a tether, a jump, jump, tether. And then you go and you're like, tether, and you have to pick them up in order.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it fun or interesting to pick them up in order?
No, that's fair.
I don't know that it is. Like, and that was kind of my thing with it, where I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I did see some footage from the trailers that like maybe like as you go, you might have like this really cool thing. And they're still tooling the game. Like one thing that a lot of people had been requesting from the demo was like the ability to like do an easier restart to like your abilities, like almost like a quick refresh. And I think if they had the ability to like, I don't mind planning it out, but I think I want the ability to restart without having to re-pick them up. Because I already solved it. So it's like, I don't want to re-pick them up because I already have an order of pickup. So we'll see again. Like, but it didn't hit as hard for me as like Croak did, where I was like, I thought this was going to be like the vibe I got on the floor was like, oh, you thought Croak was, none of the people who did Croak were like, nah, Tethergeist is John Blaze. And I was like, it's cool. I was in love with it, but I'm very interested to like continue to follow that. I got to make sure I wish list that too. Omut? O-M-U-T? How do you say the name of this game?
I thought they were saying omelet like the whole time. So don't ask me.
I wish it was called omelet. I love omelets.
I thought it was like O-M-L-I-T. Like
I kind of heard omelet too, but it's spelled O-M-U-T.
Yeah.
Let me make sure that's right. I'm 90% sure. Yeah. O-M-U-T.
Yeah.
This is a twisted fucked up little game where it's cool, by the way, to get ahead of it. I like this game. But you look at you watch a trailer and you're like, what kind of fucked in the head little stuff is this? But then if you scrub into honestly, I'm not gonna lie, y'all gotta you gotta scrub 39 seconds into this 1 minute trailer to see the gameplay, which that's a little long. But this is basically like a boss rushy style. I guess you can't call it a platform. It's like you're zipping around and you have like a shotgun. Maybe you have different guns at a certain point, but It is a game of timing your dashes.
Yeah.
And being mindful of your ammo and having the persistence to, I think, like dodge and zip around and be strategic and like when you're punching. And it's like it's a game of like mental and timing stamina. You don't have a stamina meter necessarily, but it's like you have to like pick your spots and like know how you're doing.
You do
stuff.
have sort of, you can exhaust your weapon, like your bullets or your actions. Which an action can be shoot. It could also be dash. It could also possibly be like other mechanics, I'm assuming, in the game. And so like you have to manage your action resource to beat the side scrolling boss rush game.
And it's like very the tone and like the writing seems like super rad. It's cheeky. It's like a little funny, but like messed up. Like I have a bunch of notes in this game, but like tonally, it kind of feels like if you played Oxenfree, it's like what if the kids went into that little upside down and they just got like fucked up in there. It's like got this really fun, gritty tone, kind of like Binding of Isaac-esque, like, but also like visually, because it also has like another like little sprite girl character with like poofy hair. It's like, what if Madeline and Celeste just like broke her neck on one of these rocks and ended up dead or something? Like, I don't know, Battleline. Yeah, it's like very dark, shadowy, gritty. It's got like a great like sense of tone. You know, I know I keep saying that it's like a fucked up little thing, but it's because if it's meant to be, it's like CRT nightmare fuel game.
Yep.
And I think it's really, really cool. And I think I don't know how far I'll be able to get in this because it was hard as hell. We didn't beat any of the bosses.
No. I got really close, but
PR had the gall to say no one's made it farther than you. I'm like, guys, you cannot lie where it's so obvious. They knew they were lying though because they laughed when I said that. But it was just like, I'm like, y'all, I know that that's not true. But yeah, it is fun. I do think we would have done better with controller as well because we were playing on mouse and keyboard. They will have controller support. But yeah, this was just a really cool game. I don't want to spend too long because it's supposed to be quick honorable mentions. But that was really fun, really unique. Really weird, unexpected, interesting. Liked it a lot. And then, of course, we have to talk about Infinity Nikki.
Do we have to?
We do. Okay, so I would like to. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because it is honorable mention, like a little quick shout out. But I was so like entertained by like your presence at Infinity Nikki of like where I'm like, Infinity Nikki, this hit my inbox, and I said, I told myself I didn't want any appointments on Monday, but Infinity Nikki comes through. I'm gonna answer the call, bitch. So if people don't know, Infinity Nikki is a continuation of the like Love Nikki franchise, which is like a mobile game franchise. It's like a dress up magical girl game. I didn't really rock with the mobile game. I tried to play it and it just wasn't my style. I don't know if it was like, if it had, like, I don't want to misspeak on what the game has, but like the progression flow of it, I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I don't like this, even though I love clothes. So I'm like, I'm good. But I also didn't give it that much of a chance, to be honest. I was kind of like, quick hit. I'm like, nah, not for me. The end. But that's what I know Nikki for. And then Infinity Nikki popped up at like, I think PlayStation Showcase was when it was first shown. And I'm like, oh, this is like open world style, like more like third person combat. But then also you have like these outfits and like also you have like a cat buddy. Like what's going on? I don't know. This, and my vibe seeing the trailer was like, this game doesn't really look good. Like, it doesn't look like it feels good. But if you feel okay, I may just lock in for the ride, baby. Because, like, it's got, like, those, like, cozy life sim sentiments. But, like, what if also combat? And what if also fashion? And I'm like, that seems really cool. Again, will they pull off the feel? I was like, oh, I think so. Yeah. But, like, it's kind of got that blended genre to it that I thought was really appealing.
Yeah.
Playing it, again, I'm going to try to be brief because I could talk about this game forever because that was a wild demo circumstance where they're like, cool, hop on a PC station. What is going on in this game?
Talk about just dropping you into the game.
Systems. No, they're like, look at the tutorial. I'm like, there's like 8 pages of tutorial. I was like, let me just try to glean what I can glean. And the TLDR. It'd be like
if you got dropped into Final Fantasy VII. Like,
it was harder than that. And not like harder, like it's a harder game, but it was like, more, I feel like even less comprehensible.
Yes.
And I'm looking around, I'm like, how are these people playing this game? Because like, what's going on? But eventually I kind of got my feet under me a little bit. I couldn't really follow like the mission structure because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But, and also mouse and keyboard, I'm like, I'm a controller player. It's really hard for me to make a jump on this. And it's very floaty. TLDR, it feels better than I feared, but not as good as I wanted it to. I would love to see stuff like, and maybe there is in the game and I just couldn't figure it out. Maybe I need a lock on. I need a way to like maneuver and duck and dive and like fight things a little bit better. But other stuff that I thought was really cool is like you can like clean the animals up and then you get like little stuff and like you have a special animal cleaning outfit and then you like clean them up and you have like a special fishing outfit and you like fish. So this is like one of those games where it's like I'm ready to stand this mid game because like the vibes were very like mid to barely good, but I still definitely want to like play the full build of this and be like, oh, this could be a fun little thing to obsess over if the flow of like the outfits and stuff is good enough, but like the combat is definitely okay, how much is that? Like, are we going to be doing full on bosses with it? Because it didn't feel as good as like I wanted it to. And as I think like other games of its style might. So we'll see. We'll just see what goes on with it. But it was like, you know, I was there with Infinity Nikki. I'm like, Infinity Nikki, it's kind of okay. Might be good enough. Yay. And that's like where I was at. But it was fun to get to play that. Any other things you want to shout out or say on behalf of PAX Games? Obviously, this has been a very long segment, but also it's just like, I mean, I feel like we didn't even spend that much time on each game. It's just like, you know, we went over a lot. So
I'll just do one quick shout out from me. That's going to be Chroma Gun 2.
Yeah, you're killing it there.
That we played at the Mix. And it's your first person, you know, Portal thematic vibe, like sort of test lab puzzle game. Where almost like Talos Principle, you know, that also kind of like fits the vibe where it's like first person puzzle game where you are almost going from like a little like test chamber to test chamber room kind of thing, solving these like environmental puzzles. This one, from the name Chroma Gun, deals with colors. So like you are, you know, sort of absorbing colors from things or putting colors into things to create new colors, or, you know, you mix, you know, yellow and blue, you get green. Oh, the green panel now attracts the green lever to like open the door and you get out kind of thing. So it's like a little bit of environmental puzzle, a little bit of color puzzle, a little bit of like response or reflex puzzle where it's like, oh, you need to, you know, like one of the puzzles I had is like, oh, you need to attract a green ball to this green panel, but the panel, and there's a button in the middle of the floor, and so you need to attract the ball but then disconnect the attraction when it's over the button so that it stops and then hits the button and opens the door. So like there's a little bit of elements all over the place. So far, it was really good. Had a lot of fun. I was apparently breezing through the demo.
It was
that they had
wild. It was like seeing like, it's like if you went to the ice rink and it's like you're like, oh yeah, like I actually play hockey, or like I'm a figure skater, and then you're like zipping around. Like it was just like you had no problem with anything. Everything clicked instantly. Like it was
not instantly. It was that last one that was a little bit more. But complex.
Even then, it's like. I don't know how to describe it. It was wild. I was like, wow, this is like seeing, it was like watching a live trailer. It was like at the level of, you've never seen these yet. We'll see if at one point you get like the media appointment where you can see this, but where you have like the people live demoing the game for you, like hands off. It's hands off for you, but it's hands on for like the PR, like the person working on like the development team or like the QA side of the development team or whatever. Like Ubisoft does that a lot where they're like, you watch someone play like their game like live. Alan Wake also did this for their demo, but yeah, it's like if you were that person, like it felt like you had that level of like training where you're just like I've redone it a bunch of times.
I was plugged in.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, do you want to play? I was like, hell no, I don't want to play. And not that I don't like those games, but I'm like, I'm gonna slow it all of what we got going on down. Like let's just watch you play.
Yeah,
I will game with my eyes as you play through Chroma Gun 2. But
yeah, no, that's fair. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Really had a lot of fun. Looking forward to playing it probably once it comes out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our game section.
We'll take a break and be right back.
And now for our not game section. We're gonna try to keep this brief because we had not even a lot of games to talk about. It just takes a long time to talk. Yeah. About games where it's not just like I played this and it was neat, you know?
No, for real.
But hopefully, you know, people found some cool stuff to get excited about. And speaking of things to get excited about, let's talk a little bit about our time in Seattle outside of PAX, which wasn't that much, honestly. You know, we spent most of our time just doing PAX, but we did make it up to Capitol Hill to check out Pink Gorilla Games, which is my friend Kelsey's store.
Hell yeah.
So obviously biased there because I like Kelsey, but it's a really cool game store. You know, it's funny talking about in the last segment, talking about Athena Crisis and it having that iconic pink look. That's like a big part of like Pink Gorilla Games. Like it's like, oh, it's something like different and it's not like it leads with like Pink Gorilla instead of just like game store, you know? Like I think a lot of game stores do have like that very gamey name and gamey look to them. And this like looks different in a very intentional way to be like, this will be part of what makes us memorable. And obviously, you know, they're also modeled after like that store in Japan and stuff like that. So yeah, it was cool. Didn't end up buying anything, but I did look at a lot of stuff. They had a Game Boy Micro, but I'm still sort of holding out for like the pink one that I think only hit Europe at one point briefly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because there's like, well, there's two kinds of pink ones. There's one that's like not really pink, and then there's one that's actually pink, and the pink one is very expensive because it didn't like come out in most regions.
Yeah.
So it's like
basically needs to be imported.
Yeah, I can't even find like a version of it. But yeah, that's one I've been keeping an eye out for. But they had that. And then I kind of just, you know, eyed the wall on like some PSP stuff. I considered buying Loco Roco 1 because I did see that there because I have 2, but I haven't finished 2 yet. So I'm like, let me just wait or whatever. But what about you? What were you like? It's fine not to get too gamey with the not game section, but like, you know, what were you kind of browsing around at?
I've only ever been to the one Pink Gorilla store. I don't know if it was their original one or like their flagship or whatever. But the Capitol Hill location, I think, is a newer store they opened. And so to me, it was just cool, like getting to go in there and see it and like compare it to what I remember the other store looking like. And it's, you know, very similar setup. You know, they have similar to the PAX sort of booth they have. The games are kind of like on the wall. You can like walk up and just kind of see all the games, the prices, things like that. They also have the like kind of glass case for you to see like consoles or like these like whatever accessories maybe they have and things like that. It was one game that I thought was really cool. They have a SNES inbox, like you know, not new inbox, but like with the box and the accessories and cables and everything like that, for cheaper than I thought it was gonna be. Like, I don't know, in my head that was like easily, you know, $500-600 to like get again with the box SNES. No, it was like 300. And I think if you don't want the box, if you just want the console, it's like 120 or something like that. I don't know. I don't like. It's always just fun to like walk into these like retro stores and see, oh, like, what are things going for? Like, oh, okay, cool. You got a PSP. Oh, that's like $80. All right, I could throw $80 at a PSP or something like that. You know what I mean? So
I'm glad you feel that way. So you can help me bring my Vita back to life. I still got to try to just charge it for like 6 hours.
Well, you know, she mentioned you send it in, and you know, she knows a guy who can take a look at it. And
yeah, but I'd have to mail it. I'm gonna first try. Kelsey recommended that I just charge it for a really long time.
Bring it to.
Yeah, that is true. But then I still have to get it back. We'll see. I'm gonna first try just to charge it again, even though I think I did already try to charge it for a long time. But yeah, Kelsey says sometimes they're like super dead, and then the other thing is just changing the battery, which like maybe I could just get it done here. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so that was cool. That was fun. I want to go to more game stores here too in LA because I've been in the mood to like I want to get a new GBA game that like I haven't played yet. Which there's that Pokemon game that we have that I could maybe toss in there.
Pokemon Fire Red. Yeah, which you haven't played before.
I'm confused on if I've played it before.
It's the Ruby Sapphire engine, but they redid the first gen in the third gen engine.
Maybe I didn't. I guess because I was looking at the art and I'm like, this doesn't look like something I had played. So I don't know. Maybe Edwin would remember that more from like our childhood if we played that. But yeah, we did that. And then for other event stuff, we did hit up it was Friday the Mix and Dinner with Friends. Saturday, the What's Good Games farewell party, sponsored by / collabed with Life is Strange.
That was really cool.
Yeah, Hot Dog Man was there.
Hot Dog Man was there. They had a little photo
Hot Dog Man
section area. I haven't played, nor have I played any of the Life is Strange
Isaiah
games.
didn't know who Hot Dog Man was.
I don't know who Hot Dog Man was, but I fuck with Hot Dog Man, all right? You put anyone in a hot dog costume, you put Bruce in a hot dog costume, you put this man in a hot dog costume, I'm with it.
I do put her in the hot dog costume. Yeah. That was fun. We had the VIP, the little pass or whatever.
We were on the VIP list, better VIP list than PAX gave me.
That just gave us basically like, I don't know, I think technically like faster entry. It kind of all got jumbled up by the time we got there. But
yes, this is a public event. Like anyone could sort of, come there and get in line and attend, just for context to listeners and viewers and everyone. But the VIP that we had gave us access to a separate room with its a separate like sort of shorter bar line. Yeah. As well as like an open bar. Its own, which I
just got one drink, but like, technically I could have gone crazy, It's like I just got the one drink.
Really wilding out.
I don't really wild out at these kinds of. I usually get to keep it at one, max two. And then they had the public regular bar too. It was kind of like set up in a bar location as well. It got really hot.
It was
in
really
there after a while because the heat rose.
I am a little bummed we didn't try the food because the food did look good. We ate right before we went to the
I wasn't sure
party.
what the food situation was.
But the food at the party actually looked good. And I'm sure it was better than what we had.
Oh yeah, we went to like some random pub and it was pretty mid. But I will say, like, I'm not the biggest fan of doing like buffet style communal stuff in this like
post-COVID world,
post-pandemic, still getting sick era, just because it's like a lot of hands.
That's fair.
And I'll still hit it up. I'm not like above it or something, but I'm like,
you're playing with fire.
Yeah, I like to, be a little cautious, even with like that at like weddings. I'm still paranoid that at that one wedding where we came back and we were sick. I'm like, I think it's because I took one of those cheeses that was just sitting out there. Like, I don't know. So, that was fun though, seeing some people that we knew. I wish we were able to talk more to like the What's Good Games team, but they were so busy like hosting the event too. I didn't want to like interrupt their flow and all that, but I was able to say what's up to Ree and Andrea and Brittany and all them. But it was cool for them to get to celebrate that. It was fun seeing people. And then we went over, which is another reason I'm like, I'm just gonna have the one drink here. I went to the Baldur's Gate 3 party afterwards, which was like at a also like a bar, a smaller event. It was a private event. You had to like ticket in to get in there. And that's kind of it. Like it's not like it was Baldur's Gatey, which was like which I kind of fair because I feel like the event was about like celebrating with the team and with some industry fans / friends about like, hey man, it's been 1 year, we did it, and it was more about that more so than like let's like have the mind flayer here. No, dude, like taking a shot with the mind flayer, that would have been lit. Awesome. That would have been so fun. But like it was cool. People were excited. It was very loud is the thing.
Yeah, they had like karaoke going on. It was the bar itself had like a sort of basement area. Yeah. So there was like the floor you enter on with like a traditional bar over to the left, some like seating in the back, and then some stairs to the right that take you downstairs to presumably a separate bar area. Yeah. Like I think there was another bar downstairs. And then also a karaoke section. And the karaoke section was loud. Yeah. It was real loud.
Yeah, so we had to move back upstairs. I didn't really take in a lot of the environment because I was so focused on just like catching up with friends, but I thought the design of like the bar was like really fun and funky. Kind of like a carnival.
Yeah, it was that theme to it? The Unicorn. So if you know the Unicorn in Seattle, cool looking bar. Like honestly, it was.
I know we should go back in an isolated event. It looks really cool.
Really funky. They also saw they had like they had food there as well. They had like these like cupcakes. I'm assuming it was like a happy anniversary kind of or like happy birthday BG3 kind of cupcakes, which looked really cool. I didn't grab one, but I think I saw Eddie had grabbed one or brought one over or something like that.
Oh, nice.
So it looked cool. The team was there, like you mentioned. I forget the guy's name, but like the main studio head who like. He wore the like suit of armor one time.
Yeah, he wasn't in his armor this time.
Like, you see him in the corner. He was like chit-chatting it up with people. And then I was a little disappointed. I don't think they had any like themed drinks. I was really expecting.
I really wanted like.
Again, like the Mind Flayer or something like that. It's like
like the, as you can see, we're just in Act 1. You mentioned the Mind. We're like, remember the Mind Flayer? Yeah. It's crazy, It's like, remember the Baldur's Gate that we were trying to get to? Like, even though that actually is the whole game, but like some themed drinks would have been fun or something. But again, I'm not gonna spend too much time backseating how they want to celebrate their party,
not
right?
At all.
But yeah, it was cool to like get to be invited there and see colleagues and also especially as like fans of Baldur's Gate. It's like, we were included. Yay. Shout out to that. So that was that event. And then the next day was Sunday. So that was a late day because it was like, okay, it's like, reminds me of that TikTok audio, which it's funny because this is the kind of thing that's going to date the podcast when people are like, what's TikTok? Like 10 years from now and they listen to the archives. But there's that audio that goes like, I'm just partying every day and then I'm going to party next week. And I feel like that's what that day was, where it's like, okay, back-to-back social events after, mind you, spending all day at PAX as well. So it was definitely a packed day, fun time. Then we get to Sunday, chiller time. We had, I think Patrick's panel was like the main thing on our list.
Yeah, as far as like things we really want to make sure we see that day.
I saw Infinity Nikki that day too. That was Sunday. Because I had most of my appointments on Friday, Saturday. I'm like, I wanted to leave Sunday, Monday kind of open. So yeah, Patrick did a panel.
Patrick Klepek over at Remap. You work with him, just again, giving a little additional context. He had a panel about parenting, navigating parenting and gaming with him, as well as Ash Brandon, who is the gamer educator over online. You can look them up. They are a teacher. The panel was actually really dope. Like I'm not a parent.
Like right? I'm not gonna lie, like full disclosure, like I went to this panel because it's like Patrick's like doing his thing and I'm like, go Patrick. Not that I didn't think it would be good, but like, we're not parents. So it's like, but go on.
Like we're not parents, but the insight still into like, like they, like as a parent, you inherently have to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit more aware about like how often your kids are on screens, what content are they watching, like what is their introduction to games, how much time are they playing games, how much time are they being productive, like doing homework or studying hobbies or like doing like other like kind of like personal fulfilling things online that's not just pure entertainment but like has a benefit to sort of their own personal growth. And like still though, you need to manage that time because in the modern world, it is all on like one device that you do so many different things on. So they brought up and mentioned about like how they sort of like navigate these situations, the questions they ask, the answers they've come up with. And ultimately it is, very personal, right? Like there's no one way to parent a modern child. But it was very cool getting insight into like the issues that they ran into with their kids and like what sort of solutions they found work for them.
For record two, Patrick Klepek's newsletter is called Crossplay, that he also does, which is like his parenting angle. Like he has a whole like, with Remap, it's like more general stuff. And then like on his own, he has like a newsletter that's like the intersection of parenting and gaming. And it's sort of, he was like kind of there on a crossplay tip, but was also like, shout out to Remap Radio. You know what I mean? Like people are like, oh yeah, what's up? But yeah, it was interesting. We're not parents now, but we do want to be parents someday. And it was cool, like getting like, I'm like, okay, cool. Let me try to remember this for like many years from now. Like, I don't know if I'll remember any of this. But I liked a lot of things they brought up that I hadn't thought about really in terms of screen time. Like they talked a lot about like why, like what is your kid seeking out? What kind of fulfillment? Is it like what do they like, even with games? And not that they were very like not what you'd expect. I think a lot of times you'd go to something like this and you expect them to be like, screen time, can studies show your mind is melting? I think especially in the worlds where we talk a lot about like the iPad baby and like the fear of like, I don't want my kid to just be on screens. And like they kind of had a much more, what's the word for it? Not neutral, but like more like not as extremist stance on like the idea of like screens are bad or games are bad or whatever. They were like more talking about like, well, what kind of person is your kid like growing into? Like, what do they like to do? Are they, like Patrick had the example of like his daughter sometimes, of course, like watching movies or something or like playing games, but also like she loves to draw and like you could look up like a tutorial on drawing and it's like not necessarily, it's like, sure, that's more time on the screen, but it's like a different context. Or like if your kid really wants to like socialize, like maybe you can find other ways to help them socialize that aren't just like through gaming or something or through these other stuff. So it was just interesting to look at like just these different angles that I don't, especially as someone that isn't a parent, like I don't really hear those discussions. I just more so, I don't know how your like algorithm is, but more I see like, look at this iPad baby and the kid's like fucking all fucked up and stuff, and then it's like, see, this is why. And a lot of, I see also, and it's interesting too because I have that education background, so even though I wasn't in early childhood education, I was in like the teen space. It was cool hearing from like Patrick's colleague Ash, like them having that educator background and getting that thing. So I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm getting my education bag. Like I feel like, because I also see like a lot of like very oversimplified like Montessori education on like TikTok, which like there's nothing wrong with Montessori education, but like it's you see a lot of like extreme views, I think, when you're casually consuming like parenting information online. So it's like, oh, either your kid's an iPad baby or your kid has nothing but wooden blocks and like some study found like their brain is now better than the other kid. It's like some nonsense. So this felt very like leveled and cool, and it was, I was like, okay, cool, getting some little information here. And then we just hit him up for lunch afterwards with his family and got to join him on that, and that was fun. So yeah, mission accomplished. So I'm like, oh, we'll try, and Patrick's so busy too with like his family being there and then having this panel. I'm like, I don't know if we'll be able to hang out, but like I'll be around. So I'm like, yay, like we were there, so that was cool. Which brings us to, I guess, just like the other aspects of the show, just food and like what we ate.
Yeah,
because we didn't really end up having time or energy to do any big exploratory things. So it was mostly just like, hey, when we're not eating something at the con or eating the Cliff Bars we bought at Target, like what are we eating? And I guess starting with like the lunch that we had with Patrick, honestly, like that lunch hit. Like,
that food was so good.
It was good for no reason. So this was at the On Dairy Kitchen and Bar at the Hyatt Regency, which like super dub here because like, again, we were just kind of like, we want to enjoy our survival, but we're not really going to be going like across town to check out a restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's like around the convention center area, around where our hotel is, what's decent to eat. And especially like, I felt like that was such a dub because like when it came to like lunch with Patrick and lunch, when I meet with anybody at a convention like this, I'm like, hey, I mostly care about like being there with you. I don't really care about where we eat because it's like not that deep because that's not the point.
Yeah.
While like in LA here, like I'm more picky or whatever. So it was like such a dub because it was like really conveniently located where they're like, and they weren't even gonna go there at first. The other place they wanted to eat was like closed or something, like the other kitchen.
Something like that.
So like, oh, let's just eat here. And I'm like, for hotel restaurant food,
like hotel lobby restaurant,
the quality of the food and the price of the food,
that's the other thing. Like
super solid.
And again, maybe we're just we're
very California pilled.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, this meal was like $18.
I'm like, $18 entree? Reasonable. I was like,
no, like, it was really good. And it, we were there with Patrick, right? So and he had, his family, kids and everything. And it's like, oh, like, are we going to get seating? Technically it's a bar. Are they going to like seat us with like kids and everything?
Having to like realizing that like in that moment, I'm like, oh, we're privileged. Like we're a single couple. It was just us. So it's like, they had like a 18 over and only, and they're like, oh, this always happens to us. And I was like, honestly, it really made me feel like almost a little guilty for like all the times I've been like, I don't want any fucking kids here. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, thank God a place away from kids. But it's like, I never really like, it was definitely like a wake-up call to like, I gotta like be a little bit more empathetic towards these families in the world. But we live also in a place in LA that doesn't have a lot of families. So I'm like, oh.
No, that's true.
Like, teach me about your culture, Patrick and Patrick's wife.
So the food's good. I think you ended up getting like a pasta.
I forget what kind.
I ended up going with like a meatball sub, which is actually really good. So good. I know they also got like a pizza and I forget what Patrick got, but the food in general.
I think he got a form of pasta. It was like in a hot like
like a hot. It was like a hot like
so they brought him like a skillet, like a hot skillet.
Very like TGI Fridays code.
I know his wife also got a pasta. She got like a lemon because it took a while to bring it out.
Yeah.
So I remember like it was like a lemon pasta or something. And then like one of the kids had like buttered noodles also, which is
in pizza.
Which it was also funny because like they ordered like from the kids menu, and Isaiah was like, "There's a kids menu," and they're like, "Oh, do you want the buttered noodles? Like, do you want to see the kids menu?" But it's like, y'all unlocking content that I didn't like have in the world because like in my worldview, it's just like everyone's old. Like,
no, you don't have to think about that. So that food. Great. Definitely would go back there again. It's like right near the summit. So like if you are attending PAX next year or just in Seattle for a convention of any kind and you're in like that kind of like convention area, check out the Hyatt Regency food in the lobby. Yeah, which honestly like I'd have to look into like what the price on that hotel was. They're all kind of like around the same price because they're in the same area. But like I would be so down to stay there just for this. I mean, it's a little farther of a walk to the convention center, which is a little bit of the con. But like just being able to eat at a hotel restaurant that doesn't suck is like so nice because it's like you're right there. You're at the hotel. But
Like we didn't eat at ours because like it didn't look like it was good, and it was expensive.
Stupid expensive.
It was super expensive. So I'm like,
unless someone's telling me this food's really good for an Americano, I was like, all right. No,
yeah. Well, like I got 2 Americanos and it was like $15, $18 or something. And I'm like, honestly, I want a drip, but you guys were too bougie to have drip, so I had to get the Americano anyway. But yeah, that was that place. Another like probably my other favorite was the Di Fiora, the Asian fusion restaurant that we ate at with Kelsey and like her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. It was just really good. Also, kind of that same vein, like reasonably priced. Well, not priced up the ass. I guess it wasn't, maybe reasonable is a little dramatic because it's like still significant money. But like the entrees were like in the $20 kind of range, if memory serves me correctly. And the food was really good. And the drinks were like really beautifully presented. The cocktails were definitely like expensive-ish. Like they were in that like 15 to like $20 range. But honestly, like again, being LA pilled, I'm like that one that I didn't get it, but the one that comes in the flamingo boat, $18.
There's one that comes in a flamingo boat.
$18 in LA. Tell me that's not $32 cocktail.
Oh my god!
Tell me that's not $32 cocktail. You know?
No, for sure.
And like all good, different places, different stuff. But you know, I always want to just try to like almost clarify for both ends. Like for some people, an $18 cocktail, it's like, oh my god, it's a lot of money. And for some people, like you're complaining about $18. So like, hey, I know different people come at different price points, but like. For me, it's like, okay, regular-ish price for that. And then I forget what the entrees and stuff. Like the entrees were like 15 to like, I think the most expensive one might be like close to that $30 range. I think ours are like $25 or something. Yeah. So I wouldn't say it's like cheap, you know? But it wasn't like, for the quality and the amount, I thought it was like fair. It wasn't like bougie necessarily.
For both of us to eat and have drinks and leave a tip, I think our bill came to like, it was like $80-$90, something like that. It's like it wasn't crazy for as good a meal as it was.
For like a nice meal too, like like where it's like, oh, and the ambiance was really nice too. Yeah,
the place itself
was so cute.
Looked awesome. They had like a lot of flowers, a lot of decoration. It
very Instagram.
I was gonna say it looked very Instagrammy.
But good food at an Instagram place, that's hard to. That's hard to find.
Yeah, I think they did have like outdoor seating too if you wanted. But we sat indoors just because, you know, it was already kind of like getting dark and everything like that.
It was hot too. I was sweating. It was also very warm.
We also walked there, which is like up Capitol Hill. So not.
There's one really pricey entree, but it's because lobster spaghetti. So it's like, okay, you knew what you were getting into if you got lobster spaghetti. It's $50.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, but it's lobster. Like lobster's a lot of money. So it's like, okay. I forgot what I got. I got the.
I think
the Golden
like
Ocean
again or something.
Nah, I got the Golden Ocean thing. I think
that sounds right.
Yeah, $26. It's like it's like, you know, seafood and stuff. Like, oh, pretty good. And it was tasty. Also, it's really close to Pink Gorilla Games because that's how they found it. They were like, oh, one day we ate here because it was like near work, and then we're like, pretty good.
Yeah.
Other stuff. We went to Biscuit Bitch, which is like a pretty popular. I guess technically it's a chain because there's 2 locations in Seattle that like a lot of people talk about. It kind of makes a lot of like online lists and stuff. It was good. It had like good biscuit, like kind of sandwich breakfast stuff. Yeah. It does fall into the, would you say it's like a millennial trope of the like cheeky, welcome to Biscuit Bitch.
Yeah,
I got the
biscuit
dumb
bitch.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got the, you know, I got can I have the Mother's Your Whore coffee? It's like, what are we doing here? Like, I do think, I don't know. I wonder if what's the gen under us? Gen Z? Are they going to have this like referentialness to their thing?
I feel like there's going to be a little bit more tame. Like it wouldn't be Biscuit Bitch. It'd be like, I don't know, Biscuit Chat or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it'd be like still the same vibe.
But like less like.
But less.
Like, what's the word? Almost like scandalous, I think is kind of what they go for in a way. I will say too, the, not a big deal, like, but the process of like ordering is a little annoying to me.
Oh no, that's bad. I'll go on record and say it was not.
I feel like I don't want to start anything, but it was giving Atlanta like, oh
no, facts.
We went to Atlanta and it was like, why is the ordering so weird here? Yeah, because you have to do it like on your phone, and then they texted you, but sometimes it didn't text you and they just kind of said your name. I mean, the servers were fine. The people that served, I wouldn't have a problem with the workers or anything like that. I just feel like the system is a little like weird.
And I guess the reason they do that, they said, is because everything is made fresh. Like, you know, the meats are cooked fresh for each meal, the biscuits are made fresh, this and the third. All fine. The food was good. Like, I have no problem with the food.
It's the boomer in me, but it's weird to like go to a restaurant that you can do a dine-in option in, but I cannot order
Well, would you even call this a dine-in option? That was the other.
Well,
like,
it was a table, negative. So it's like
there were like street tables that you could snag when they became available. I think
if you can eat at the place, it's like you have a
dine-in.
Yeah, to a degree. Like when there's, I mean, it's a little dramatic to say a food truck that has like table space that they paid for is dine-in, but you can eat there or take it like with you. So I feel like it does have that.
I'm gonna say it's all to go because they give it to you in a to go bag. It's not like they gave it to us on a tray or something. Sure,
but it was like to go to like the 2 feet away on the table.
Hey man.
The other con too is I went there like to meet up with like my indie council folks. So it was like Jill, Jenny, myself, because Mike didn't make it out to PAX this year for West, and Isaiah was also there. So that's 4 of us. It's really a place that's like good for like 2 people. 2 people want to eat there, cool. 3 people, you're pushing it. 4, it was like kind of hell because we were all gathered around one little table. And sure, you can kind of like sometimes combine tables, but like it wasn't at a good angle for that.
Yeah,
like,
it was busy.
Yeah.
You know, like
the food was good though. Like I would still eat there again with everything that I said, but I definitely would prefer just like if just you and me, just like 2 people.
Sure.
Because it's like a little too packed. Yeah, and I think also to say it was overrated is a little dramatic. It wasn't like my face didn't melt off for this food, but it was good. It was a good meal.
Yeah. I got the sort of sandwich. I think it was on a croissant, right? Or no, biscuit. What am I doing? The sandwich was super solid. I got it with the sausage link, which is like your not Italian sausage.
The sandwich?
style.
Do you mean the bitchwich? Which is
the bitchwich. It's like got a cut open link that they fry, like pan fried on top of the egg in the sandwich. It also came with grits, which I really enjoyed the grits. I know some people don't like grits.
I gotta admit, I'm not oatmeal. Cultured. I don't like grits.
The breakfast cereal kind of
I'm unseasoned
category is not their favorite, but I thought it was really good.
I'm also not a big gravy person either. Another unseasoned trait that I have.
Really?
Gravy. Yeah.
But you order it with the gravy.
Yeah, because I'm open to gravy, and I know that like it can really. Like when it comes to like a place like this, like biscuits, gravy, grits is like the vibe. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to be as with the vibe as I can be, but like I know I just do not like grits. So like I'm not the biggest gravy person, but it's like, oh yeah, dip the gravy into the thing. Like let me taste it. But I'm not like dogging gravy because I'm not that into gravy.
Sure. Okay.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to the convention. It was like a 10-minute walk, if that, kind of like 5, 6, 7 minutes to walk over. It's over in Pike Place.
Yeah, like right before you hit the downhill of Pike Place.
Yeah, it's like right on First Street, which is like right before you go down to the water, and like the market and everything. So super cool area. We definitely checked out like Pike Place before. There's a lot of like cool little shops there. There's the other restaurant we went to, which is Beecher's Handmade Cheese.
Which I think they might have one in LA too, which is hilarious.
Really?
I think it's always really funny when I go somewhere and then I realize, oh shit, that's here in LA. They have it in LAX. I don't know if they have it in LA proper.
Okay.
Like not in the airport, but it seems like Beecher's like has some reach to some degree. It's like they have the handmade cheese, and then their menu is very based on like, we are showcasing our cheese.
Yeah.
Do you want a grilled cheese, a mac and cheese?
Yeah.
A plate of cheese? We have cheese. Like that's their menu. I had the mac and cheese. I had it last year as well. A slightly different version. I had one that had like sausage in it, and this time it was just the regular. It's cool. It's not like incredible, but I knew it would be a good meal and that it was like relatively tasty. So that's why I'm like, hey, Isaiah, let's go here and you can try it out. I also had the grilled cheese with kimchi, which sounds like it wouldn't work, but it did work pretty well. Isaiah doesn't like kimchi. But at that point though, it was like too much like bread and cheese for me, because I got that with the mac and cheese, which was like a bit much. Like I should have just like gotten the really big mac and cheese and called it a day there. But I also, I don't live there, so I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get some extra things just to taste it. I also got their they have a bread that they're like really known for.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like it this time around. I think it just tastes too much like a pizza, but without the sauce and cheese, which I know sounds stupid. Like I realize that quote sounds dumb, but like it had like the seasonings of pizza to me.
Pretzel toast or something like that. Or like,
yeah, it's some type of, it's like a bread-esque thing, but it's not like just bread.
It's the bitchwich of like their pretzel.
Yeah, it's tough because the menu is also a little hard to like see online. It's very much a like just read the board or read the thing outside kind of place.
No, that's true.
And they do have indoor standing space. Because Pike Place is weird to eat at because some places have like seating, and then some places like you just got to take it and figure out a spot to go.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, I don't want to sit somewhere where it's someone else's seating for a different business. So they at least have a little standing thing, which we just ate at. Which honestly, I'm like, oh my God, I want to sit down so bad because I was so tired of walking around. But
yeah.
But yeah,
and that was cool because you could also like look into the like where the cheese is made.
Yeah, it
like,
looked kind of nasty, wasty. They all rolling it around. They also
it was really cool.
It looks sciencey too because they're all like decked out so that they don't like contaminate the cheese. You know?
Yeah, it was like real Breaking Bad in there.
Yeah, like I think it is worth checking out at least. And the line looks long, but it goes quick.
Yeah, you place your order fairly quick, and then there's a little bit of a wait for your food to actually get ready.
Yeah, definitely at least like 10 minutes. But I would say like definitely life hack. If you do get the mac and cheese, you get that right away.
Yeah.
So you really don't have to wait for like sandwiches and more stuff because they just have that in like a big pot thing that they just like pull from. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's worth checking out. I love the there's a clam chowder place also in Pike's Place that I love, but you're not big into clam chowder. Is that why? Also, it was hot when we went. It was HAWT hot. So I'm like, I don't want to eat clam chowder. It's like 90 degrees.
No, fair.
Yeah, and that's like basically most of the food. You know, we got a couple little things here and there, but for stuff that we really like more so enjoyed, which of course, shout out to DoorDash and Shake Shack, always hits.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though they didn't have my strawberry shake in stock, which I was sad about, but that's okay. And before we end this segment of the show, we need to talk about the hotel credit drama.
Oh,
Isaiah,
man.
why don't you set this up for me? What happened here?
We were staying at the Hilton Motif, right, which is a Hilton chain hotel. With our stay, we got a $10 credit that we could apply to anything we got in our room. They have like a little like kind of, what do you call it? Store? Store is maybe being generous.
Yeah, it's like those little like, I mean, it's not a corner store because it's an hotel, but those little like convenience like
a little
shop
convenience
stands.
station. Yeah, where like you could get maybe some chips or like a pop or a bottle of water or something like that.
Beer, wine, gum. Even though they never had the gum,
they
but
never had the gum. Anyways, they have that area, and you can get anything from there. And there's a $10 credit that you can just apply when you charge it to your room. And we had different philosophies on how to take advantage of this $10 credit.
To clarify, the $10 credit, you get $10 a day. It does not roll over.
It does not roll over.
Continue.
But you can, again, you get $10 credit. So I was of the mindset that we're going to try to take advantage of this credit.
Yes.
Even if we didn't need the thing that we were getting. We were going to try to stop and get something. I was of the mindset that we need to use, to make the most of it, use the entire 10. And if that means you go $1 or something over, that's fine because you got the 10 credit. Like the most you get is the full 10, and then it's like, okay, cool. And I still got something. I'm still paying $1 for the 3 cookies or whatever it is. That's fine. Janet, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were of the mindset of you can't go over at all because then you're giving them money. You're losing out because you paid them.
Yes. Though I wouldn't say it was so far that you couldn't go over at all, but my philosophy was that you should go over as little as humanly possible because I didn't want to go too far under either, but I'd rather be under than over. And you're like, I'd rather be over. Like this all came to a head on the first day of the trip.
Yes.
Because on the first day, we're like thinking about, we've gone to a couple cons before. If you listened to, I think 2 episodes ago, we talked about like the tips and stuff. And part of that is like, stock up on certain things. We did that. We went to Target, got some chips, got some things here and there, whatever. Got a little thing of coffee. But the other thing is, trying to like minimize needing to just like buy food at the con or like just, I don't know, little stuff. So it's like, okay, well, one big potential expenditure is like breakfast the morning of or whatever. So we're like, okay, they have some little cereal cups here. We have their cereal, there's milk.
Oh, man.
And the cereal, and stuff is expensive there.
Yeah.
And that's just, I don't care if you're from LA, New York, London, Missouri, it's expensive. Like $5 for like a tiny, tiny little cup of cereal, like that is expensive no matter who you are on earth. Because it's like, bro, this is like the size of a thimble. But whatever, you know where you are. So they had like, those were each $5. And the milk was like, I don't know, $3-ish bucks. Yeah. $3 to $5, somewhere between that range. So we had $10 a day. And the first night we were there, it's like we just got there at night. Like we took the train in, it's like, okay, we're literally just checking in, chilling. relaxing, getting ready for the show tomorrow, the end. And we're not going out, we're not doing anything. When we're done, we ate already. I forgot what we ate. We ate something at some point, whatever, right? I'm like, well, why don't we just get either one cereal, one milk, or 2 cereals, no milk. And then tomorrow we come down and we buy what else we need. And Isaiah thought that was crazy.
Because it's like, one, if I wake up, I don't want to have to get like ready for my day and then go down and get cereal and then come back up and then eat this cereal. I'm trying to wake up, knock the breakfast out, and then we leave and then we're gone and we're out. And then on the way back, which was what we've done the rest of the days, once we're coming in for the day, we stop, we get whatever we're going to get, and then we go up to the room to like, you know, relax and like, you know, be done for the day. I wasn't trying to make it a double dip day at this rinky.
Yeah, Isaiah's like, why are we buying cereal across 2 days? And I'm like, this is the system they set up for us. So...
And I'm like, you know what? No, we'll just get it. We'll get the cereal and the milk today.
Which was like $15.
We'll make the most of the $10.
So that's $5 that Isaiah had to spend of his own money.
$5 out of pocket for cereal.
But that's what they want you to do. Don't you see? You're their puppet.
It would be one thing. But then what do we do the next day? We use that same full 10 credit to get some cookies or I forget, was it Pop-Tarts or
yeah,
like we still use the full 10 credits the next day.
Also, I know I still have a broke mindset because I brought that Pop-Tart home with me.
I did.
Oh, I thought I did.
No. Yeah, it was a strawberry Pop-Tart. Why am I leaving that in the hotel? It fits in your pocket. It fits in your bag. You throw it in your bag. I brought that and I brought the grandma's cookie. They were both delicious.
Anyway, so that was my thing with that. So it was funny to go toe to toe on this issue.
Yeah, it's not the poll of the week, but let us know, like whose side are you on?
Yeah, which one are you? Pick your dysfunction?
Yeah.
Is it spending extra on the thing, or coming back every day to get like a little bit more?
Do you go over to make the most of the credit, or do you fall under to not spend anything?
Also, before getting into the poll of the show, I do want to shout out for people watching the video version on YouTube. Isn't this frog that I have up here? Isn't he perfect? I love him. He's so cool. He's so cute. He has like a scented butt. He's great. I brought him out there because we didn't have Croak merch, so I brought the only frog I had to represent Croak. All right, let's get into the poll of the show. This is a segment that we've always done, but we had it like lumped into the outro. I'm trying to surface it more into like the show proper so that people remember that it exists, in case if you're someone that like, I'm like this for podcasts. Like sometimes when it's at the end, I stop and then I hit do, just so it clears on my thing. And then I hear the next episode. So poll of the show, not a new segment, but it might be to you.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, we actually have to skip talking about the poll results in this week's episode because we are recording this as, in a sense, an extra episode or like an episode ahead. Because we're not airing it until like a week after we record it, which normally we air it like a few days after, because we'll be going to Chicago. Yep. So we'll have our, that'll definitely be our not games.
Yeah,
I don't know what's scarier, the train
games,
or
the Chicago
or the trip. But yeah,
games.
I'm very excited to get into it. I'm from Chicago. Isaiah's never been. It is going to be a whirlwind of an adventure. I cannot wait. But for now, let's talk about what this week's poll of the show is. It's going to be over as usual on our Twitter. Underneath our pinned tweet, the handle again is @GamesAndNot. And this week we're asking, what's the earliest you've bought a game? And the options will be Kickstarter/crowdfunding, early access, full release retail price, post-release bundle/sale. So those are the 4 options for the earliest you've bought a game. All right. And that's it for this week. You can send us your questions and topics to the email inbox@gamesandnotgames.com. You can follow the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and anywhere else you get your podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to give us that 5-star rating.
Yeah. And if you are an audio listener, remember you can also catch the show over on YouTube at Games and Not Games. If you like the video, be sure to give it a like, leave a comment, let us know. That helps us get in front of more people. You can also follow us over on social media. We are on Twitter /X @GamesAndNot, and then everywhere else @GamesAndNotGames. That's Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitch, etc. Yeah, and till next time, gang.
Gang.
Peace.